Chapter 11:19. How is the effect of the joint attack formation? Princess Qingyuan asked. The effect is very strong. It is much stronger than the ring-shaped battle formation and the triangular battle formation. Qin Leitang said. The joint attack formation, in our Qing Emperor's dynasty, only the Qing Emperor's army has it. That was researched by my father. The other armies, even the Green Qilan army, do not have it. Bring your majesty to take a look, Princess Qingyuan said. Qin Leitang and the others brought Princess Qingyuan to the training grounds of the Massacre God's territory and watched the soldiers train. At this moment, the soldiers of the Massacre God's territory were training in pairs. It was a sparring match between the soldiers and the captains. The soldiers used the joint attack formation. Although their cultivation was not high enough, they could still fight against the leaders who had higher cultivation than them. 3 to 6 people joint attack, very good. After watching for a while, Princess Qingyuan returned to the large tent of the Thunder Army. Commander, I feel that since it is a method to increase one's strength, we should let the brothers master it. Tang Hu bowed towards Princess Qingyuan. Tang Hu, it is right for you to think about the brothers under you, but the crux of the problem is that Knight Sorrow is the deputy commander of the Massacre God's territory. He only needs to be responsible for the soldiers of the Massacre God's territory. If everyone wants it, the commanders of the Imperial Army and the Black Armored Army all want it. Wouldn't that be a mess? Princess Qingyuan looked at Tang Hu and said, I think so too. The soldiers of the Massacring God's territory are lucky to be able to learn this joint attack formation. They are lucky to have Yi Shang as their vice commander. The others can't ask for anything. Of course, they are all soldiers of the Thunder Army. Qin Leitang voiced his opinion. Let's not talk about this matter anymore. Don't make things difficult for Knight Sorrow. Princess Qingyuan made a decision. Tang Hu could only nod his head. In the Qingyuan army, Princess Qingyuan's words were the highest order. After that, Princess Qingyuan and Zhuo Tingyun went to the training grounds to take a look. With this joint attack formation, the battle strength of the Massacre God's territory will increase by a lot. Zhuo Tingyun nodded his head as he looked. Mingdan, tell the Massacre God's territory's soldiers that this joint attack formation cannot be leaked. If anyone leaks it, they will be executed without mercy. Princess Qingyuan gave the military order to Mingdan, who was following behind her. Yes. Mingdan bowed and said. After that, Princess Qingyuan and Zhuo Tingyun left the Thunder Army. After Princess Qingyuan returned to Qingyuan Palace, she was stunned for a moment. Then, she quickly walked into Qingyuan Palace's main hall and bowed. Qingyuan greets Imperial Father. Why has Imperial Father come to daughter's place? What's wrong? Can't Imperial Father come and see you? Where have you been? Qing Emperor sat at the head of the table and said while drinking tea. I just went to the Qingyuan army's encampment to deal with some matters. Qingyuan bowed and said. Sit down and talk. What happened in the military camp? Qing Emperor looked at Qingyuan and asked. It's Knight Sorrow. He taught the Massacre God's territory's soldiers the joint attack formation. The commanders of the other territories also want it, and have already dealt with it. Oh right, I haven't told Imperial Father yet. Knight Sorrow relied on his own ability to become a vice commander. Qingyuan sat down and said with a smile. Vice commander. Imperial Father remembers that the lowest commander in Qingyuan army is an intermediate king, right? Can he be a vice commander? Qing Emperor stroked his beard and asked. Qingyuan army is in the Qingyuan army. The Qingyuan army uses a challenge system. Father knows this. After he challenged the strongest team leader in the Qingyuan army, he challenged the strongest team leader. That team leader was a 5-star sovereign, but he was defeated by him. Therefore, I made him the deputy commander. He has commanded the War of the Realms before, so he has no problem with his intelligence. The deputy commander position is suitable for him. Qingyuan reported Yi Shan's situation to the Qing Emperor. Interesting, a bit interesting. You make the arrangements. This person is very important to our Qing Emperor's dynasty. We must make the best use of him and not neglect his cultivation. Alright, just pretend that Imperial Father never came. Qing Emperor stood up and left Qingyuan Palace's main hall. Knight Sorrow was in the small courtyard in front of Leisure House. He waved Sky Splitter and cultivated his battle skills. Right now, his energy and willpower were restrained, constantly releasing the battle skills he had grasped. After leaving Qingyuan Palace's main hall, Qing Emperor waved his hand. After the golden crown on his head turned into a purple crown, he walked to the side of Leisure House's small courtyard with his hands behind his back and watched Knight Sorrow cultivate his battle skills. Because he was too engrossed in his cultivation, Knight Sorrow didn't notice Qing Emperor's arrival. Only when Hong Yi, who made tea, coughed did Knight Sorrow wake up from his concentration. Seeing Qing Emperor, Knight Sorrow cupped his hands and slightly bowed. Knight Sorrow greets Elder. Young man, you're not bad. It's already hard to grasp a few types of force exertion techniques, and it's even harder to combine them. If you can combine the time attribute and the space attribute, that would be even more impressive. Actually, the compatibility between the time attribute and the space attribute is a leap. The space attribute is a leap for space, and the time attribute is a leap for time. You can try to use the two attributes to support each other. The time attribute supports the space attribute, and the space attribute supports the time attribute. Supporting each other will speed up the compatibility of the two attributes, Qing Emperor said. Knight Sorrow thanks Elder for your guidance. Knight Sorrow bowed again. Haha, the key is that it's helpful to you, Qing Emperor said with a smile. Come, Elder, have a seat. Have a cup of tea. Knight Sorrow invited Qing Emperor to sit down, and then poured a cup of tea for Qing Emperor. Not bad. You're quite experienced in making tea. Qing Emperor took a sip of tea and said, I'm not used to walking around. I've never seen Elder in Qingyuan Palace. Knight Sorrow filled Qing Emperor's teacup again and said, Like you, I like peace and quiet. I don't usually go out. Today, I'm thinking of moving around. Qing Emperor sized up Knight Sorrow. After drinking 2 cups of tea, Qing Emperor stood up and was about to leave. I'm an outsider in Qingyuan Palace. I don't know anyone or have any friends. If Elder has time, please come and visit. Knight Sorrow stood up and said, Okay. Qing Emperor nodded. After leaving Leisure House, his body flickered and disappeared. In Qing Emperor's palace, Qing Emperor and Xian Daozi were playing chess, but then they shook their heads. Your Majesty, your state of mind is unstable. Is something wrong? Xian Daozi asked. I suddenly want to take in a disciple, but I haven't thought of how to deal with it yet. Qing Emperor put down the game in his hand and said, Chapter B plus Section 1. That's a good thing. Your Majesty has only taught Qing Lin, Qing Wan, and a few other princes for so many years. You can take in a disciple to relax your state of mind. Xian Daozi said. His hands were shaking. Big deal. This was a big deal for Qing Emperor's dynasty. Qing Emperor's disciple had a very high status in Qing Emperor's dynasty. His Majesty was equivalent to a prince or princess. A disciple was half a prince. But I'm worried that I won't be able to teach him. That child controls the dual elements of space and time. I've dabbled in space, but not time, Qing Emperor said. Knight Sorrow? Perhaps you can't teach him time, but isn't your mastery in other areas what he needs? Fourth Watch. Chapter 11:20. I need to think about this carefully. It's very important to both him and me. The Qing Emperor shook his head. He admired Knight Sorrow, but he didn't want to affect his development because Knight Sorrow was doing very well. It is indeed very important, but a disciple with potential is not easy to find. The Red Emperor and the Dark Dominator both have excellent disciples, said Xian Daozi. Xian Daozi was the Qing Emperor's imperial divination master, and he was also a good friend of the Qing Emperor. He could say things that others didn't dare to say. Indeed, this emperor is inferior to them in this aspect. Sandalwood was not bad back then, but her state of mind was not good enough. One's state of mind and temperament have a great impact on a cultivator's final achievements. The Dark Dominator cultivates the Tao of Death, and it's enough for him to take in a disciple with a ruthless temperament. The Crimson Emperor is the same. It's easier for them to take in disciples, but it's harder for this emperor, who cultivates the Tao of Gentlemen, to take in disciples. Haha, you understand, Your Majesty, said Xian Daozi with a smile. I know some things. I have so many princes, but none of them can stand out. Isn't that strange? Qing Yuan knows that he can't suppress him, and he doesn't dare to. The Qing Emperor shook his head. There were some things he didn't want to say. The Qing Emperor's imperial dynasty needed a strong crown prince. Xian Daozi didn't say anything else. The Qing Emperor was a smart person. Although he didn't ask much about the imperial dynasty, he knew everything. Night Sorrow is still rising. If I take Night Sorrow as a disciple, Qing Lin and the other princes will definitely suppress him. It's not good for his growth. I can't beat Qing Lin. After all, he's my crown prince. Let's wait. The Qing Emperor made his decision. Night Sorrow's life was very stable. He went to the Massacre God territory, and nothing happened. He returned to the leisure house. Lanning brought Beixing to the leisure house. Night Sorrow, although we haven't been apart for long, it feels like we haven't seen each other for a long time. Northstar said with a smile as he looked at Night Sorrow. I think you want your king's weapon. Come on. I happen to have some time, so I'll help you. Night Sorrow extended his hand to Northstar. All right. After Lanning told me, I brought the materials. Northstar took out the long sword and gave it to Night Sorrow, and handed a storage ring to Night Sorrow. Taking out the crafting furnace, Night Sorrow knocked on it, and began to upgrade the Northstar's Clear Moon Sword. In order for a Saint Ruler artifact to be upgraded to a King artifact, the first requirement was the materials, then the level of the spirit array inside the sword. The level of the spirit array was also the most important. For original edition, after entering the King's realm and increasing his soul power, Night Sorrow's clone in the Heaven Sealing Hall had been studying the spirit array, and his understanding of the spirit array was getting deeper and deeper. When Night Sorrow was upgrading Northstar's Clear Moon Sword, the Qing Emperor came in wearing a plain robe. Night Sorrow asked Hong Yi to serve him tea. After apologizing, he continued to refine the Clear Moon Sword. It took Night Sorrow a few days to upgrade all the materials and spirit array inside the Clear Moon Sword. After signing, Night Sorrow waved the Clear Moon Sword and handed it to Northstar. King's artifact, haha. Thank you, Night Sorrow. Northstar said happily as he held the Clear Moon Sword. I promised you that I could refine a king's artifact, so I will definitely help you upgrade your weapon and armor. Maybe you won't be able to use the full power of the Clear Moon Sword now, but you will in the future. Night Sorrow smiled. Then Night Sorrow bowed to the Qing Emperor and said, I'm sorry for neglecting you, Elder. It's nothing. Actually, there's another way to make weapons and armor. You're using the 1000 Hammer 100 refinement technique. Have you ever thought of trying the 1000 Hammer 100 refinement technique? Inscribe some spirit arrays with each stack. When you hammer again, be careful not to damage the spirit arrays. This way, after the 1000 Hammer 100 refinement technique, the weapon or armor will be able to incorporate more spirit arrays. The space for the spirit arrays will also be larger. The Qing Emperor said as he looked at the Clear Moon Sword in Northstar's hand. Taking a deep breath, Night Sorrow bowed deeply to the Qing Emperor and said, Thank you, Elder, for teaching me. It's good that it's useful to you. Actually, cultivation, alchemy, and weapon forging are not the same path. Many times, cultivators often have a flaw and misconception, which is that they walk the same path until the end. This way, they might be able to walk to the extreme, but if they go too far, it will be a vertical thinking. In the future, try to think horizontally. Having an additional path to choose from may allow you to walk further. The Qing Emperor said as he looked at Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow fell into deep thought, because the Qing Emperor's words had given him a lot of inspiration. Looking at the pondering Night Sorrow, the Qing Emperor smiled and left. He was very happy that he had given Night Sorrow some inspiration. After a while, Night Sorrow woke up from his deep thoughts and asked, Where's that elder? He left. Night Sorrow, who is this expert? Northstar asked. I don't know. Maybe he's an expert in the Qingyuan Palace. How can there be no experts around Princess Qingyuan? His insights and thoughts are very terrifying. His words are very simple, but they are the truth. With his guidance, I'll be able to take fewer detours, Night Sorrow said. You're lucky. In fact, many experts will be interested in teaching you when they see someone like you. This is also karma. Because when you grow up, You'll remember the kindness of teaching you. This is karma, North Star said. But they don't necessarily want to repay you. This is called love, Night Sorrow said with a smile. Then Night Sorrow helped North Star upgrade the armor again. After listening to the Qing Emperor's guidance, Night Sorrow's forging became much easier. It was also much easier because the space for carving and embedding formations had increased by a lot. After a few days, Night Sorrow also finished upgrading North Star's armor. North Star was very happy. In fact, Night Sorrow was also very happy because the Qing Emperor's guidance was very good. After North Star's matter was finished, Night Sorrow asked Lanning to send him back. He continued to study battle techniques. On this day, when Night Sorrow was practicing battle techniques, the Qing Emperor came. I haven't seen Elder for a few days. Night Sorrow misses Elder very much. I'm very grateful for Elder's guidance. How can I thank Elder? Wine. Good wine. Night Sorrow smiled and greeted the Qing Emperor. Good. Let's drink. I haven't done this in a long time. Bring out the good wine. The Qing Emperor sat down and waved his hand. It's a bit awkward. I think this wine is good because it's from my hometown. It's brewed by my wife. I don't think Elder will like it. Night Sorrow said embarrassedly. He knew that the Elder in front of him was unfathomable. He must have a very high position in the Qingyuan Palace. He must have drunk all kinds of good wine. Bring it out. I'm not picky. Let's drink. The quality of the wine isn't that important. The mood is the key. The Qing Emperor raised his chin at Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow stood up and brought out 2 jars of Azure blood wine. He then opened the jars and pushed them in front of the Qing Emperor. Pouring a bowl of wine, the Qing Emperor drank it in one gulp. You're talking nonsense. This wine is very good. Although it's not as delicate, it has a bit of wildness. Fine brewed wine is like a puddle of clear water. Your wine is like the wind. It has a wildness that Qing Emperor's imperial wine doesn't have. As long as Elder likes it. Night Sorrow thanks Elder for teaching me. Night Sorrow stood up and bowed to the Qing Emperor. Chapter 1121. It's good that you can understand. Sometimes pointers are like playing the lute to a cow. You can understand everything. That's the point of pointers. The Qing Emperor shook his head. After drinking 2 jars of wine with Night Sorrow, the Qing Emperor left. After returning to the Qing Emperor's palace, Xian Daozi poured a cup of tea for the Qing Emperor. Your Majesty, you drank? That's strange. I'm happy. I'm really happy. I've decided to find an opportunity to take him in as a disciple. The Qing Emperor took a sip of tea. Does he have a good temper? Xian Daozi asked. He has a good personality. At such a young age, he's already accomplished things that ordinary people can't. However, he's not impetuous at all. Cultivating the way of a gentleman requires a magnanimous spirit, breadth of mind, and personality. He has all of that. The Qing Emperor gave his evaluation of Night Sorrow. Then we'll find a time to do it, Xian Daozi said with a smile. No, this needs to be properly arranged. If I only take in one disciple, he'll become a target for others. I'll announce later that I'm taking in a disciple and set up a few thresholds. Those who pass will become nominal disciples. After passing a few more tests, they'll become my legacy disciple. The Qing Emperor stroked his beard. All right. I'll pretend I don't know anything about this, Xian Daozi said with a smile. The Qing Emperor looked at Xian Daozi and said, Then I'll leave it to you. Set up the thresholds. Oh, and go find out about Night Sorrow's situation. If you make a mistake, don't worry, Your Majesty. I'll take care of this properly. The thresholds will block everyone but not him. Yes, they'll block everyone, Xian Daozi said, bowing. He knew that the Qing Emperor was serious, so he had to do this properly. Otherwise, the Qing Emperor wouldn't give face to his old friend. There's no need to be too deliberate. Taking in a few nominal disciples isn't a big deal. Consider it a good karma, the Qing Emperor said. Good karma. If His Majesty's novitiate disciple is successful, then this is Night Sorrow's good karma and good karma. Everything really is predestined. Xian Daozi chuckled and left. Could it be that this guy can really gather luck, Dao? Qing Emperor tapped his fingers on the table and fell into deep thought. He knew that if it weren't for the appearance of Night Sorrow, he wouldn't have the idea of accepting disciples. He planned to accept a few nominal disciples because of Night Sorrow's influence. Then, a huge news spread throughout the Qing Emperor's dynasty. Even the world of reincarnation got the news. The Qing Emperor wanted to take in disciples. However, the threshold was very high. First of all, one's cultivation had to be at least king's, and one's age had to be less than 1,000 years old. Next, one had to be a heavenly adept artificer. These three requirements made many people feel bitter. If one didn't meet the requirements, it would be very difficult to become a king within 1,000 years old. There were many geniuses in the world of reincarnation, and some of them could meet the requirements. However, the Qing Emperor's requirement was not to become a king within 1,000 years old, but to become a heavenly adept artificer within 1,000 years old. Not to mention this, it was even more difficult. In addition, there were only 10 places. No matter how many people there were, the Qing Emperor would only choose 10 people based on merit. If there were less than 10 people who signed up, then all of them would stay. If there were more than 10 people, then there would be a cruel selection. Night Sorrow also got the news, which made him very shocked. Night Sorrow, this requirement is not a problem for you, right? Red Coat said excitedly. Night Sorrow thought for a moment and said, this requirement is very suitable for me. I also want to, but I have to tell my master that I want to join another sect. I have to ask for the permission of my master and the elders of the Medicine Valley. You're thinking too much. In the cultivation world, many people have different masters. You're not betraying the sect, Lanning said. I know, but it's still appropriate to report to my master. Night Sorrow shook his head. He knew that Lanning was telling the truth, but it would be disrespectful if he did not tell Yu Yangyu. That's fine too. With the realm teleportation formation, it's convenient for you to travel back and forth. Redcoat knew that it was very difficult to change Night Sorrow's mind. At this moment, in the Qing Yuan Palace's main hall, Princess Qing Yuan was twirling a teacup in her hand. Zhua Tingyun stood aside and said, Princess, this matter will have a great impact on the Qing Emperor's dynasty. It could even change the situation. That's right. In my father's eyes, there's no difference between a disciple and a child. There are some things that I haven't seen, but I know that back then, senior brother Sandalwood's position in the Qing Emperor's dynasty was far above all the other princes. Therefore, as long as the disciple's character and talent are passable, then it's hard to say what position he will have in the Qing Emperor's dynasty, Princess Qing Yuan said. Zhua Tingyun nodded. He was very clear about some things. Sandalwood back then was an example. Actually, my father might be taking in a disciple because of someone, Princess Qing Yuan said. Princess Qing Yuan had a high position in the Qing Emperor's dynasty. This was related to the fact that she was loved by the Qing Emperor, but it was also related to her own abilities. After thinking about it, Princess Qing Yuan had some ideas. Because last time, she felt that the Qing Emperor was interested in Night Sorrow. Princess, just pretend that you don't know about this. His Majesty is a smart person. No one can go against his will. His will is the will of the Qing Emperor's dynasty, Zhua Tingyun said. Your Majesty understands. This is not a bad thing. Maybe he cares about the Crown Prince and the other princes. Princess Qing Yuan interlocked her fingers and stretched her waist. That was the truth. Qing Lin was also touched. Because once the Qing Emperor took in a disciple, it would be a big deal. Back then, when Sandalwood was still around, he was suppressed. After Sandalwood went crazy, he appeared and gradually rose to the top. After Night Sorrow greeted Princess Qing Yuan, he took the teleportation array and returned to the Sky Profound world. Then he went to the Tianding Gate and arrived at Danding Peak. Seeing Night Sorrow return, Yu Yangyu and the others were very happy. This was because they had not seen Night Sorrow for a while. They also knew about Night Sorrow's situation from the Tianding King. They knew that Night Sorrow went to the world of Samsara for the 9 Firmament World Group. Master, it's like this. The Qing Emperor of the world of Samsara is taking in a disciple. I want to take a look. Night Sorrow said to Yu Yangyu. This you can do as you see fit. If you want to have high achievements, then you need the guidance of a great teacher. As your master, I really did not fulfill my responsibility. I can't block your path. Work hard. Yu Yangyu nodded to Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow will always be Master's disciple. I will always be the disciple of the Medicine Valley. Night Sorrow bowed to Yu Yangyu, Hua Yunpeng and the others. Only one original, one of them. He was all pirated carrot however. Hua Yunpeng and the Great Elder avoided it. Other than Yu Yangyu, they did not have the qualifications to receive Night Sorrow's bow. He did not stay in the mysterious sky world, nor did he go to Chia City. Night Sorrow returned to the Qingyuan Palace. He was now waiting for the registration date. On this day, when Yishang finished cultivating, the Azure Tharch arrived. Night Sorrow poured a cup of tea for the Qing Emperor. Qing Emperor is taking in a disciple. Don't you have any thoughts? The Qing Emperor looked at Night Sorrow and said, Yes, in fact, I really want to get guidance from the elders. Night Sorrow looked at the Qing Emperor and said, the Qing Emperor had guided him twice. Night Sorrow really benefited a lot. You won't be disappointed. Chapter 1122. You won't be disappointed. Qing Emperor nodded towards Night Sorrow, and then left Leisure House. Qing Emperor told Night Sorrow that he wouldn't be disappointed. In fact, he wasn't disappointed in his heart either. The main reason was because of Night Sorrow's attitude. Qing Emperor understood that Night Sorrow knew that as long as he participated in Qing Emperor's disciple recruitment, he would at least be a nominal disciple. However, Night Sorrow was still very respectful towards him. He even said that as long as he asked, Night Sorrow would accept his guidance. He even said that he wouldn't participate in Qing Emperor's disciple recruitment ceremony. Night Sorrow was a bit disappointed. He really hoped that Qing Emperor would be willing to continue guiding him. That way, he could give up on participating in Qing Emperor's disciple recruitment ceremony. Soon after, under Hong Yi's reminder, Night Sorrow went to Qing Emperor's palace to sign up and participate in Qing Emperor's disciple recruitment ceremony. After signing up, Night Sorrow stayed in Massacre God's territory for a few more days to observe the soldiers' cultivation. Now Night Sorrow wasn't only recognized by the large captains and captains, the ordinary soldiers also recognized Night Sorrow. Everyone's combat ability increased by a lot. What did this mean? It meant that after entering the battlefield, their chances of survival increased by a lot. After staying in Massacre God's territory for a few more days, Night Sorrow greeted Qin Leitang and Meng Dan before returning to Qingyuan Palace. General, Vice Commander Knight is a bit over 100 years old. His cultivation is a 2-star king. I don't know if he is a weapon refiner. If he is, then he can definitely participate in His Majesty's disciple recruitment ceremony. Meng Dan looked at Night Sorrow's figure leaving through the teleportation formation, and said, he is a king-level weapon refiner. This is recorded in the information Her Highness showed this general. Qin Leitang said, then will he still stay in our Thunder Army? This subordinate admires him. There are too few cultivators like him now. Meng Dan said, he should. He shouldn't be someone who gives up halfway. I also don't want to let this guy go. Qin Leitang exhaled and said, everyone in the Thunderbolt army knew that Thunderbolt Qin was an old-fashioned person. It was hard for him to approve of someone. However, once he approved of someone, he would treat that person seriously. Night Sorrow stayed quietly in Leisure House, waiting for the Qing Emperor's apprenticeship ceremony to begin. Half a month later, the Qing Emperor's apprenticeship ceremony began. The venue was the Qing Emperor's palace square, and the host was Xian Daozi. Everyone in the Qing Emperor's imperial dynasty knew that Xian Daozi was under the orders of the Qing Emperor. Many times, Xian Daozi was the one who arranged everything for the Qing Emperor. The Qing Emperor's recruitment of disciples was a big event. Not many people signed up, only a dozen or so. However, many people came to watch because they all wanted to know who could become the Qing Emperor's disciple. Even if it was just a nominal disciple, it could change one's fate. Night Sorrow was among those who signed up. Everyone who signed up had to go through a test. Although many people's cultivations and ages could be seen at a glance, there were some secret techniques that could hide one's age. Xian Daozi seriously checked everyone who signed up. The Qing Emperor's disciple was very important, and it would have a great impact on the Qing Emperor's imperial dynasty. If someone from the Qing Emperor's imperial dynasty used a secret technique to break in, Xiandaozi would never be able to wash away this humiliation. Xiandaozi tested everyone. The oldest was 900 years old, and the youngest was Knight Sorrow, who was 120 years old. The one with the highest cultivation was the 900-year-old man, who was a level 3 king. After testing everyone's age and cultivation, Knight Sorrow and the others went to their designated seats. Next was the equipment refining test, and anyone who wasn't a Heavenly Master equipment refiner wouldn't be able to pass. Knight Sorrow had just sat down when he felt hostility. Turning his head, Knight Sorrow found that the 900-year-old level 3 king was staring at him with eyes full of hostility. Knight Sorrow smiled. He knew that this was hostility born of competition. He didn't think it was necessary at all. The Qing Emperor wasn't recruiting a disciple. What are you smiling about? You just got into the king's imperial dynasty ahead of time. Do you think that's enough? The man's eyes were full of a fierce murderous aura. Then you have the right to do so? Knight Sorrow was helpless against such hostile gazes and words. If you're not convinced, then let's fight. The black-clothed man stood up. The black-clothed man's name was Bonehead, and he came from Dark Bone Mountain. He was the young master of Dark Bone Mountain, a first-class force under the Qing Emperor's imperial dynasty. When he came to participate in the apprenticeship ceremony, the Mountain Lord of Dark Bone Mountain said that the Qing Emperor couldn't instruct all the in-name disciples wholeheartedly. Among all the in-name disciples, the Qing Emperor would only instruct the most outstanding ones. The youngest one was the biggest threat, so Bonehead saw Knight Sorrow as a rival. He even planned to kill Knight Sorrow if he had the chance. I, Knight Sorrow, don't look for trouble, but I'm not afraid of trouble. If you want to fight, then I'll fight with you. Knight Sorrow stood up. Okay, quiet down. Xiandaozi slammed the table in front of him. After making Bonehead and Knight Sorrow quiet down, Xiandaozi tapped the table with his finger, and the next round of the equipment refining test was carried out. After that, Knight Sorrow and a dozen other people began the equipment refining test. The materials were on the table in front of everyone. They were all beginner king-grade materials. After the examination, the applicants had to use these limited materials to choose the most suitable one, and then refine a king-grade weapon. As long as they succeeded, the refined weapon would belong to them. It was also a disguised reward. Knight Sorrow thought for a moment, and felt that he could refine a pair of boxing gloves. Ever since the Azure Claw gloves were destroyed, Knight Sorrow hadn't used boxing gloves. His hand skills were very profound, and he needed boxing gloves very much. After having an idea, Knight Sorrow began to forge. He used the 1,000-fold 100 refinement technique, and he was very familiar with it. Knight Sorrow had refined quite a few king-grade weapons, and he was very familiar with the carving of formations. There were no problems. Xiandaozi, who was watching from the main seat, nodded as he watched. He was also worried. If Knight Sorrow really had a problem refining, he wouldn't be able to explain it to the Qing Emperor. In fact, this disciple recruitment was prepared for Knight Sorrow alone. After Knight Sorrow finished refining, he engraved the word Shang on the claw gloves. Then he placed the gloves on the table and took 2 steps back. The Qing Emperor, who was drinking tea in the Azure Sky Pavilion, nodded as he drank. Everything in the Qing Emperor's palace was within his scope of investigation, and he was very satisfied with Knight Sorrow's performance. Among the dozen or so people who participated in the refining, only Knight Sorrow was the calmest. His emotions were also very stable, so the quality of his weapon was also the highest. As for the conflict between Knight Sorrow and Bonehead, the Qing Emperor felt that Knight Sorrow had handled it very well. Everyone had a temper. If you endured being bullied, then it wasn't true. Not long after Knight Sorrow finished refining, Bonehead also finished refining and returned to his seat. His gaze was still on Knight Sorrow. He knew that Knight Sorrow definitely had a spot in the Qing Emperor's list of registered disciples. What he wanted to do now was to make Knight Sorrow lose face. Bonehead felt that if he made Knight Sorrow lose face before Knight Sorrow entered the Qing Emperor's eyes, then the Qing Emperor would no longer care about him. Soon the time set by Xiandaozi was up. Only one person had successfully refined a weapon. At this time, Bonehead stood up and walked to the center of the field. He pointed at Knight Sorrow and said, Very good. Let's fight and see who is the best. Chapter 11:23. What are you doing? You're very strong, but can you be invincible? Xian Daozi frowned at Bonehead. He was starting to get annoyed. He knew exactly what Bonehead was thinking. Night Sorrow stood up, but didn't move. If he stepped up now, it would be the same as slapping Xian Daozi's face. Senior, I feel that this is an opportunity to prove myself. No matter if it's me or him, we both need the opportunity. Lord Qing Emperor's disciple needs to be the most outstanding one, Bonehead said. Xian Daozi pointed a finger at Bonehead, his eyes filled with rage. He had already made things very clear, but Bonehead was still stubbornly clinging to his own course. Xian Daozi was considering whether or not he should be heavy-handed. That's up to you, Xian Daozi said. It's up to you whether or not you want to fight Night Sorrow. No one is going to force you to do anything. No one is going to think that someone who's been training for 900 years can defeat someone who's been training for 100 years. Originally, Xian Daozi wouldn't have made such a decision, but after receiving the Qing Emperor's message, the Qing Emperor felt that there was no need to stop this battle. Bonehead needed to make a name for himself because of Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow didn't need that, but he couldn't lose his drive. Qing Emperor felt that if he kept stopping Bonehead, others would think that he was protecting Night Sorrow. Fight. If I don't fight, then everyone will think that I'm afraid. I don't want to prove anything. I just want to quietly do my own thing. But that's a bit difficult. Night Sorrow stood up and walked off the stage. Latest equals chapter. On the festival, come on. I'll let you see the difference between us. Bonehead waved the battle blade in his hand as he looked at Night Sorrow with an ominous glint in his eyes. Night Sorrow didn't say anything. He just waved splitting sky. At this moment, Bonehead moved. His body leapt into the air, and he wielded his warblade with both hands as he swung it at Night Sorrow. As Bonehead made his move, Night Sorrow knew that his will of darkness was compatible with the will of light. It was a dual elemental will and dual elemental energy. Two completely different types of energy and will were compatible. Bonehead's talent was still very strong. Night Sorrow used Sky Splitter and used Heavenly Wasteland Ultimate Kill. He used the Will of Time to support time acceleration to block Bone's ferocious attack. Suppression. Night Sorrow's Will of Time completely suppressed Bonehead's Will of Darkness and Light. They were on completely different levels. When Night Sorrow fought with Crow Beetle, he was unable to suppress him because Crow Beetle's cultivation was much higher than his. However, it was different now. Bonehead's comprehension of will was about the same as Night Sorrow's. Naturally, his normal attributes would be suppressed by his higher attributes. The Bone Blade's energy had been affected by Night Sorrow's time acceleration. It had less than 70% left. When it slashed at Night Sorrow's space rend, Night Sorrow's arm didn't even move, let alone his body. After being melted by time acceleration, Bonehead's energy cultivation was about the same as Night Sorrow's. In addition, Night Sorrow's body was a 2-star king. How could Bonehead move? After that, Bonehead crazily slashed at Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow stood in place and casually blocked with Space Rend. This made all of Bonehead's attacks ineffective. Night Sorrow didn't want to make things difficult for anyone. This was the Qing Emperor's disciple ceremony. If he attacked too aggressively and something went wrong, it would be equivalent to slapping the Qing Emperor's face. That was what he thought, but Bonehead didn't think so. When Bonehead saw that he couldn't break through Night Sorrow's defense, he changed his move. When Night Sorrow blocked the blade, another blade appeared in his left hand and stabbed towards Night Sorrow's chest. Night Sorrow's right hand didn't change Bonehead's blade, but his left hand punched towards Bonehead's second blade. Following an explosion, Bonehead was knocked back by Night Sorrow's punch. Night Sorrow's left and right hands had the same attack power, and he had even used concussion force, so Bonehead was knocked back. Gap. Is this the gap you were talking about? Night Sorrow swung Space Rend and looked at Bonehead. At this moment, countless spectators knew that Bonehead was no match for Night Sorrow. Moreover, there was a huge gap between them. However, Bonehead was furious. He swung his blade towards Night Sorrow again. I'm going to kill you. Then I'll show you the gap between us. Night Sorrow stood there without moving. A halo erupted from his body as he used time shock to protect himself. Bonehead's blade slashed at Night Sorrow's body. However, as Night Sorrow's energy shield kept vibrating, the energy on Bonehead's blade became weaker and weaker. After breaking through Night Sorrow's energy shield, Bonehead's blade landed on Night Sorrow's shoulder without even lifting his robes. Scram! Night Sorrow swung Space Rend and slapped the dumbfounded Bonehead's chest. As Bonehead's energy shield broke, the sound of bones breaking could be heard from his body. Night Sorrow's powerful attack sent Bonehead flying far away. He fell to the ground and spat out large mouthfuls of blood. I, Night Sorrow, have no intention of fighting for anything. However, no one can step on my shoulder. Night Sorrow swung Space Rend and returned to his seat. Hong Yi and Lanning kept clapping their hands. They were too excited at this moment. Night Sorrow's performance was too domineering and dazzling. Calm as still water, moving like wind and thunder. This was the portrayal of Night Sorrow's performance at this moment. Xian Daozi slammed his hand on the table, his face full of excitement. Shocking. Night Sorrow's performance had shocked him. What was this? This was a gentleman's anger. After Bonehead stood up, he quietly returned to his seat. At this moment, he had been awakened by Night Sorrow's attack. He could not just leave in a fit of anger. If he left, he would lose a great opportunity. The situation was not good now, but it did not mean that there was no chance at all. After Night Sorrow returned to his seat, he was very quiet, as if the person who had just fought had nothing to do with him. The Qing Emperor withdrew his soul power. The matter was settled. The people who passed in the end were all his disciples in name. As for who would be his personal disciple, that was his choice. Then Xian Daozi clasped his hands to the people who had come to watch the ceremony. Thank you everyone for coming to watch the ceremony. Those who pass are all His Majesty's disciples in name. As for the following arrangements, it is up to His Majesty. The ceremony ended. Night Sorrow and his people stayed in the Qing Emperor's palace, because they had to wait for an audience with the Qing Emperor. Night Sorrow, you are now the Qing Emperor's disciple in name, Hong Yi said excitedly. If you can get the Qing Emperor's attention, you will most likely become his personal disciple. Then your status and position will rise. No, I plan to become the Qing Emperor's disciple. I'm not doing this for status or position. I'm doing this for my own strength. Status and position are not given to you by others. You have to fight for it with your own strength. Night Sorrow shook his head. Hong Yi's words made sense, but they were not in line with his philosophy. Young man, you are right. Your own strength is the most important thing. With strength, status and position will not be a problem. Xian Daozi arrived at Night Sorrow's residence. Night Sorrow greets Senior. Night Sorrow clasped his hands to Xian Daozi. No need to be so polite, young man, Xian Daozi said with a smile. If I politely said that this was luck, that would be blasphemy to my own efforts. Perhaps this is fate, Night Sorrow said. Chapter 11:24. Well said, Xian Daozi said. No matter what, you have to respect yourself. Only by respecting yourself can you gain the respect of others. He nodded at Night Sorrow. He really liked Night Sorrow's philosophy. Yes, Night Sorrow said. It doesn't matter if you gain the respect of others. It's important to respect yourself. It's an attitude. Actually, I was the one who screwed you over, Xian Daozi said apologetically. It was I who reported the results of your divination to His Majesty. That's why the Blue Phoenix Princess came looking for you and forced you to do something against your will. Don't say that, Xian Daozi said. It's true that you helped me a lot. Even if the Qing Emperor's dynasty didn't come looking for me, the Red Emperor's kingdom would have. You know what kind of people they are, and I'm the one who's in trouble. It's a problem that can't be solved. Besides, I was able to become the Qing Emperor's disciple, an honorary disciple. This is also an opportunity. He really wanted to learn from Xian Daozi. Haha. In that case, I really did help you. I owe you a drink. Xian Daozi pointed at Night Sorrow, then left with a smile. Divination masters could foresee the workings of the heavens, so they believed in opportunities. He had never imagined that his divination would affect Night Sorrow so much. Xian Daozi returned to the Azure Sky Pavilion. Your Majesty, did I do a good job today? Xian Daozi sat down across from the Qing Emperor. Not bad, the Qing Emperor said. Just an honorary disciple. It's not like I'm taking in a lot of disciples. Bring them to see me tomorrow. After resting for a while, Xian Daozi brought Knight Sorrow and the others to the Azure Sky Pavilion. After waiting for a while, the Qing Emperor appeared. He wore a black robe embroidered with mountain and river patterns, and a golden crown on his head. Greetings, Master. Bonehead and the others all knelt. Looking at Qing Emperor, Knight Sorrow was stunned. He recognized that Qing Emperor was the elder who had given him pointers, but his attire was different today. At this moment, Bonehead and the others had finished kowtowing. Knight Sorrow was still looking at Qing Emperor. What? Are you disappointed? Qing Emperor looked at Knight Sorrow and said with a smile. I'm not disappointed. Actually, what I want the most is the guidance of an elder, not the Qing Emperor, Knight Sorrow said, shaking his head. Then what are you waiting for? You haven't paid your respects to your master yet, Xian Daozi said. Knight Sorrow stepped forward and knelt on one knee. He clasped his hands and bowed to Qing Emperor. You are being disrespectful to master. Bonehead growled. Emperor Qing stepped forward and helped Yishang up. A man, a gentleman, should have a clear conscience when he raises his head, and a clear conscience when he lowers his head. Master, I'm sorry. All these years, I've been insisting that I'm not inferior to anyone. I don't know why. I'm sorry, Knight Sorrow said. Haha. Master understands. Master also came from the same stage as you. That's very good. From today onwards, you are my personal disciple, Qing Emperor said. Thank you, Master. I won't let you down. Knight Sorrow bowed. What about you guys? I won't hide it from you. In fact, you are just accompanying the Crown Prince. I only want to accept one disciple, and that is Knight Sorrow. You guys are lucky because of him, so don't be jealous. Don't reject him. Otherwise, I'll kick you out. Qing Emperor looked at Bonehead and the others. Protective. Unreasonable. Very unreasonable. This was Qing Emperor. He didn't need to reason with anyone. His words were law. Anyone who disobeyed him would be destroyed. Bonehead and the others were taught a lesson by Qing Emperor. They couldn't be jealous at all. Jealousy was death. Take them away and make arrangements. I'll give them some pointers when I have time. As for what they can achieve, that's up to you. Actually, you have to walk your own path. The starting point doesn't determine your achievements, Qing Emperor said to Xian Daozi. Knight Sorrow chatted with Qing Emperor for a while. Qing Emperor waved his hand and called someone over. It was an old man in black. The old man was tall and sturdy. He was dressed in black, but he wore a mask. Above the mask was a snow-white beard. Knight Sorrow, this is Summer City. He's been with me for a long time. You can call him Uncle Summer. He'll follow you from now on. Summer City, you'll be in charge of Knight Sorrow's affairs in the Qing Emperor's dynasty. You'll deal with things that cross the line, Qing Emperor said to the old man. I understand. Summer City bowed to Qing Emperor, then cupped his hands to Knight Sorrow. Knight Sorrow greets Uncle Summer. Knight Sorrow bowed in return. Bring him to 9-story tower. From now on, 9-story tower will be Knight Sorrow's residence. Knight Sorrow, you still have to be a soldier of the Green Phoenix Army. You still have to fight when you need to. What I need to do is to point out a path for you, not walk it for you. Qing Emperor said to Knight Sorrow. I understand. Knight Sorrow bowed to Qing Emperor. Take it and read it. Ask me if you don't understand. Qing Emperor took out 2 books and handed them to Knight Sorrow. Then, under Summer City's lead, Knight Sorrow brought Red Shirt and Blue Shadow to 9-story tower. 9-story tower was just a title. Its actual name was 9-story palace. The 9-story tower had a special status in the Azure Supreme Tharch Empire. It was the place where the Azure Supreme Tharch stayed when he was young. Later on, he left the 9-story tower and went to the Azure Supreme Tharch Palace to live in the Azure Sky Pavilion. 9-story palace had always been empty. No prince could stay there. If Knight Sorrow does anything wrong or doesn't understand, please tell me, Uncle Summer. Knight Sorrow said to Summer City when they arrived at 9-story palace. You're too kind, Your Highness. If there's anything you can't solve in the future, just tell me, Summer City said. Uncle Summer, don't call me that. Just call me Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow brewed a pot of heart-cleansing tea. No, in the Qing Emperor's dynasty, the emperor's direct disciple is the prince. That was the case for Princess Sandalwood back then. The emperor also mentioned this rule. In other words, you're the third prince of the Qing Emperor's dynasty, Summer City said. Uncle Summer, don't call me that in the future. It doesn't matter if I'm a prince or not. I became the master's disciple because I want to learn more skills. I can't cause instability in the Qing Emperor's dynasty because of this meaningless title. Night Sorrow said to Summer City. I understand. I'll go arrange the guards and maids of 9-story palace now. Summer City bowed to Night Sorrow and left 9-story palace for Azure Sky Pavilion. In Azure Sky Pavilion, the Qing Emperor and Xian Daozi were playing chess. Has Night Sorrow settled down? Qing Emperor asked. They've settled down. Yi Shang and his 2 followers have already settled down. Xiaoqing said with a bow. Summer City, this is unruly. We're like brothers, but Night Sorrow is my direct disciple. In the Qing Emperor's dynasty, he's a prince. I asked you to go because I was worried. Qing Emperor didn't let go of the Book of 7-Story Palace. He was the only genuine Book of 7-Story Palace. Your Majesty, it's not that I'm unruly. It's just that Your Highness doesn't allow it. Summer City bowed and said. Chapter 11:25. His Highness said that he wanted to become your disciple because he wanted to learn some skills, not because of his status. He didn't want to cause instability in the Qing Emperor's dynasty because of this. Summer City bowed and said. Wise man, I didn't misjudge him. But His Highness is His Highness. No one can question this, and no one can change it. The Qing Emperor put down the document in his hand. The Azure Supreme Tharch was not a rash person. If he did not understand and was not confident, he would not easily accept a personal disciple. He knew everything about Yi Shang's past. What he wanted was a disciple like Yi Shang. I understand. Summer City bowed and said. Bring a small team of the Qing Emperor's guards to the 9-story tower. They will be Night Sorrow's personal guards from now on. The normal guards of the 9-story tower will be transferred from the city guard army. As for the maids, you can make the arrangements. Also announce to the world that Night Sorrow is my disciple. If I don't give it to him, no one can have it. If I want to give it to him, he must accept it, the Qing Emperor said. Then Xian Daozi and Summer City went to make the arrangements. The Qing Emperor trusted them the most when they were handling things. Xian Daozi and the Qing Emperor were good friends. He knew what the Qing Emperor was thinking. As long as the Qing Emperor expressed his intentions, he would help him deal with it. Be unspecified currency, unspecified currency, unspecified currency. Summer City was different. Summer City was the Qing Emperor's brother. They had fought side by side in the past, and their relationship was even deeper. In the Qing Emperor's dynasty, Summer City was the Qing Emperor's shadow. After the Qing Emperor's guard deployed a small team to the 9 grand floors to defend Summer City, they also deployed a small team from the Qing Emperor's city guard army before returning to the 9 grand floors. In the Qing Emperor's dynasty, the Qing Emperor's guard was the power controlled by the Qing Emperor. Summer City was the highest leader of the Qing Emperor's city guards, which meant that only Summer City could mobilize them. Other people could not mobilize the Qing Emperor's guard and the city guards. At the same time, Xian Daozi also announced Night Sorrow's situation. This news caused a huge commotion in the Qing Emperor's dynasty. The birth of a new prince would cause a huge conflict in the Qing Emperor's dynasty. It could be said that there would be a shift in power. The Qing Emperor was the most important person in the Qing Emperor's dynasty. Her Highness was the second most important person in the Qing Emperor's dynasty. As soon as the news came out, many officials of the Qing Emperor's dynasty came to the 9 grand floors to visit Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow's way of dealing with things was to not meet anyone. He told Summer City that he was in seclusion. He did not want to participate in the core power of the Qing Emperor's dynasty. He did not want to at all. Yi Shang was indeed cultivating in seclusion. The 2 books that the Azure Supreme Tharch had given him were his cultivation experiences. One was his combat experience, and the other was his artifact forging and array formation experience. Both were the Azure Supreme Thearcha's ultimate techniques. In the Qinglin Palace, Qinglin, who was wearing the Qinglin battle robe, was listening to his subordinate's report. Your Highness, it seems that Knight Sorrow does not plan to step into the core power. Kongming, send people to keep an eye on him. He does not plan to do so now. But if he wants to, he can control the same power as me and Princess Qingyuan at any time, or even surpass it. Qinglin said to his subordinate. Kongming was a general of the Qinglin army. He was Qinglin's absolute confidant. Qinglin would let him handle some important matters. Is there any way to destroy his prestige and His Majesty's trust in him? Kongming asked. We can't do that. We can't be hostile to him. The fact that the Azure Archguard was sent to the Ninechong Pagoda is an important signal. Father's intention is clear. Whoever dares to touch him, Father will do the same. No one is allowed, including me, said Qinglin. Others might not know, but Qinglin knew about Knight Sorrow's situation. He knew how important Knight Sorrow was to the Qing Emperor's dynasty. He could affect the fate of the Qing Emperor's dynasty. In addition, the Qing Emperor's arrangements also let Qinglin know that Knight Sorrow was not only valuable to the Qing Emperor, but he also sincerely admired and liked him. At the same time, the Qing Emperor also got the news. This little guy is really not simple. What he did shows his attitude, mood, and state of mind. My prince and princess are not good enough. The Qing Emperor sighed with emotion. Strength is the foundation of everything. Many people don't understand this. I don't know whether Knight Sorrow has understood it, but what he is doing now is in line with the meaning of Tao, Xian Daozi said. Summer City is there, so there won't be any problems. That old guy is cruel and merciless. He won't let anyone touch Knight Sorrow. I'm going to cultivate in seclusion. If I can take one more step, I'll go and kill those bastards one by one. The Qing Emperor left after saying that. In the world of Samsara, the leaders of the top forces were almost equal in strength. They were competing to see who could take the first step. Whoever could take another step forward would be able to change the current situation. Knight Sorrow cultivated in seclusion every day to learn the cultivation experience of the Qing Emperor. As he studied the Qing Emperor's handwritten letter, Knight Sorrow knew that the Qing Emperor had the space attribute. He even developed a unique skill, the Emperor Samsara Slash. However, the original version was the Great Emperor Samsara Slash that the Azure Supreme Tharch had mastered. Yishang could not cultivate it. The Great Emperor Samsara Slash that the Azure Supreme Tharch had cultivated was a supreme art that was formed by the fusion of the spatial attribute and the other 5 attributes. What Knight Sorrow wanted to do was to learn from it, not copy it step by step. He couldn't copy it because each attribute was different. The doppelganger studied the handwritten letter, and the original body began to analyze it. Then the doppelganger practiced. After cultivating for 2 months, Knight Sorrow's doppelganger stopped cultivating. In the lobby of the 9-story building, Knight Sorrow saw Summer City, 2 men in armor, and a middle-aged woman. Greetings, Your Highness. Summer City led the 3 of them and bowed. Uncle Summer, you don't have to be so polite. Just call me Knight Sorrow, Knight Sorrow said. This is His Majesty's order. I can't go against it. One of them is the captain of the Qing Emperor's guard, Fei Xiu. The other is the captain of the city guards, Shen Han. The other is the manager arranged by the Qing Emperor's palace, He Qiu. Summer City introduced the 2 men in armor and the middle-aged woman. Uncle Summer, you're an elder. You can arrange the matters in the 9-story building as you see fit. I'll go to the Green Phoenix Army later, Knight Sorrow said. Your Highness, there's one thing you don't know. In the Qing Emperor's dynasty, Your Highness has the right to build and own an army, Summer City said. No need. I'd rather serve in the Green Phoenix Army. Knight Sorrow shook his head. He didn't have many thoughts about it. Fei Xiu, Shen Han, when Your Highness isn't here, you'll be in charge of everything in the 9-story building. You can't make any mistakes. If Your Highness doesn't see any guests, then the 9-story building won't receive any guests. If there are any trespassers, kill them on the spot, no matter who they are, Summer City said to Fei Xiu and Shen Han. Yes, old Summer. Don't worry. Fei Xiu and Shen Han nodded. Uncle Summer, you guys do what you need to do. I'll bring the 2 of them to the camp. Knight Sorrow pointed at Red Coat and Lan Ning. No need. The three of them can look after this place. I'll follow your highness. Summer City shook his head. Uncle Summer, you're an elder. You can't run around with me, Night Sorrow said to Summer City. Chapter 11:26. It's nothing. I'll follow you, your highness. I won't interfere with anything you do or bully anyone. However, I won't tolerate anyone who dares to bully you, your highness, Summer City said. Uncle Xia, I really don't want you to suffer because of me. Night Sorrow looked at Summer City and said. He knew that Summer City was highly valued by the Qing Emperor. If he couldn't come here, he would have to suffer with him. It's nothing. It's our fortune that your highness can sympathize with the people around you. Summer City shook his head and said. Night Sorrow sighed and didn't say anything more. He knew that Summer City was insistent. It was useless for him to object. It would be disrespectful. Looking at the people again, Night Sorrow took out 2 jars of wine and put them on the table. Night Sorrow is a cultivator from a small world. I'm indebted to Master for taking me in as his disciple. However, I'm still Night Sorrow. So don't be too cautious. We're all family now that we're living in the same mansion. Night Sorrow opened the wine jar and poured a bowl for everyone. Thank you, your highness. Fei Xiu, Shen Han, and He Qiu bowed to Night Sorrow with the wine bowl. Night Sorrow looked at Summer City with the wine bowl in his hand. Uncle Xia, you used to be comfortable with Master. Now that you're suffering with me, Night Sorrow, thank you. Night Sorrow finished his words and drank the wine in one gulp. Summer City drank the wine in the bowl, and then looked at Fei Xiu and the other 2. You guys can go and arrange things. Uncle Xia, do you have something to say to Night Sorrow? Night Sorrow looked at Summer City, who sent Fei Xiu, Shen Han and He Qiu away. Yes, I have something to say to your highness. Even if your highness doesn't intend to touch the power of the Qing Emperor's dynasty, some people will still be hostile. The Qinglin Crown Prince and the Qingyuan Princess will have thoughts about it, Summer City said. I've thought about what Uncle Xia said. I'm going to the Qingyuan army now to show my attitude. I won't fight for anything. I just want to be myself and cultivate hard so that I won't disappoint Master, Night Sorrow said. Your highness is right. Your highness. Your highness. Today, your highness, you're the Qing Emperor's dynasty. Your highness, your highness. Your highness, your highness. Your highness, your highness's highness. Your highness's highness, your highness. Perhaps. In. Highness, your highness. B. Highness. Thank you for your teachings, Uncle Xia. As long as Yishang is alive, I won't embarrass Master. Night Sorrow said. That's great. That's good. Actually, you just have to work hard on your cultivation. Status and position are all decided by strength and His Majesty. It's very important to take the right path. Your Highness' current path is the right one, Xiaoqing said. Night Sorrow brought Summer City, Hong Yi, and Lanning to the Qingyuan Palace. After asking around, they found out that the Qingyuan princess wasn't there. Night Sorrow and the others teleported to the Qingyuan army and went to their own tents. Night Sorrow then used his own tent to make a place for Summer City to rest. Night Sorrow respected Summer City. One reason was because Summer City was a respected elder. The other reason was because of what he said just now. When Night Sorrow was talking to Mengdan, the Qingyuan princess arrived. Night Sorrow greets your highness, Qingyuan princess. Night Sorrow stood up and cupped his hands. Summer City didn't stand up. She only nodded slightly. You can't call me that. You are my father's personal disciple and the 3rd princess of the Qing Emperor's dynasty. You can call your Majesty senior sister. Qingyuan Palace Princess said. Night Sorrow doesn't dare. Night Sorrow only acknowledged a master. Everything else is secondary. Night Sorrow shook his head. Junior brother, you don't have to be so polite. Did you come back to explain something? Qingyuan Princess asked. Explain what? I came back to see if there's anything wrong in the camp. I haven't been in the Massacre God territory for a while. I didn't fulfill my duties as the deputy commander. Night Sorrow said. Junior brother, do you plan to continue staying in the Qingyuan army and don't have any thoughts of forming your own army? Qingyuan Princess looked at Night Sorrow's face. waiting for Night Sorrow's reply. She mainly wanted to see Night Sorrow's expression to determine if his words were true or false. No. It's better to be my deputy commander. There's no need to worry. If there's a war, I'll go to war. If there's no war, I'll cultivate steadily. Night Sorrow said. That's fine too. If there's anything, go to the Qinghuan army's tent or Qinghuan palace to find senior sister. Uncle Summer. Qinghuan will take her leave first. Qinghuan princess nodded to Night Sorrow. She then cupped her hands towards Summer City and left. Summer City only nodded and didn't say anything. In the Qing Emperor's dynasty, he only took orders from one person, and that was the Qing Emperor. Now there was Night Sorrow. He didn't care about anyone else. Even if it was the crown prince and the princess, he didn't need to care about them. In the Qinghuan army's tent, Princess Qinghuan sat on the main seat. The 4 generals sat in 2 rows below. Night Sorrow has returned. As the 3rd majesty of the Qing Emperor's dynasty, he has returned to the massacring god's territory. Princess Qinghuan narrowed her eyes and said, as a majesty, doesn't he have the right to form an army? Why did he return? Zhu Xuanjia asked in confusion. That's right. This shouldn't be the case. Commanders are supposed to charge and break through enemy lines. As a majesty, there's no need for him to do this. Why would he do this? Bai Zhenting also didn't understand. Either he's not interested in power or he's biding his time. Your Majesty can't tell the difference. Princess Qinghuan shook her head. Isn't he afraid that someone will attack him? Zhu Xuanjia asked. Afraid? Now whoever touches him will be unlucky. When the crown prince's brother was forming the army, father arranged Master Shangguan Hong. When your Majesty was forming the army, father arranged Elder Zhua to assist your Majesty. Right now, the one beside him is Iron-Faced Divine Marquis Summer City. He's father's personal attendant, and also the commander of the Qing Emperor's City Guard Army. Princess Qinghuan let out a breath. Iron-Faced Divine Marquis Summer City was very famous in the Qing Emperor's dynasty. Even Crown Prince Qinglin and Princess Qinghuan had to respect him. Then what should we do? If this guy stays in the Qinghuan army, he'll be an unstable factor. Bai Zhenting said. You're thinking too much. His Majesty Night Sorrow is the deputy commander of the Qinghuan army. He just returned to his position. It's not a big deal, right? Qin Leitang said. Night Sorrow was a soldier under his command. He didn't want to suspect anything. Actually, it's a good thing. Right now, no matter who wants to attack your Majesty or the Qinghuan army, they'll have to be more careful. After all, there are 2 majesties here. Leitang General, go back and make some arrangements. Night Sorrow's living conditions have to be changed. He's a deputy commander, and also a majesty. Besides, Iron-Faced Divine Marquis is by his side. You can't slack off. Chapter 1127. When the Qing Emperor taught his disciples and children, everyone taught different things. Back then, Zhantan practiced the Emperor's Divine Wind Palm. Qinglin practiced the Qing Emperor's Divine Qilin Sword Cut. Qinghuan practiced the Phoenix traversing the 9 heavens. Whether it was the Emperor's Divine Wind Palm, Divine Qilin Sword Cut, or Phoenix traversing the 9 heavens, they were all skills that could allow one to fight above their level. Therefore, Qinghuan really wanted to know what Night Sorrow was learning, but she couldn't ask. Night Sorrow cultivated for 2 days. Qin Leitang arranged for people to bring Night Sorrow, and the others to change their living quarters. They changed from tents to lofts. Only Qin Leitang received this treatment in the Leitang army. Qin Leitang didn't need to explain to anyone. Night Sorrow was the 3rd prince of the Qing Emperor's dynasty. This wasn't a secret in the Qinghuan army. It wasn't a big deal for a prince to have a special residence. His identity in Summer City wasn't a secret either. As the main body continued to cultivate, Night Sorrow's energy cultivation was getting closer and closer. This was the benefit of time acceleration. While cultivating, Night Sorrow was also studying the Emperor's reincarnation / in the Qing Emperor's letter. In fact, Night Sorrow had failed several times. The space attribute couldn't control the time and void attributes. No matter how they merged, it would collapse. After thinking for a long time, Night Sorrow decided to change his way of thinking. That was to use the void attribute as the main attribute. This way he could control the time and space attributes. In order to cultivate the Emperor's reincarnation / Night Sorrow suppressed the will of space and time. He only merged the rules and energy, with the void rules and energy as the main attribute. He then merged the time and space rules and energy. It took Night Sorrow half a month to complete the fusion. After studying and understanding the Emperor's reincarnation / Night Sorrow couldn't use it. One reason was that it wasn't powerful enough now, because he hadn't comprehended the void intent. The level was a bit low. Another reason was that he really didn't dare to expose this. Having stayed in the world of samsara for more than a day or two, Night Sorrow knew that there were still king with advanced attributes in the supreme world. The surface area of a supreme world was countless times that of a high-grade world, and the number of cultivators was countless times greater. In addition, the conditions were good, and with the accumulation of time, it wasn't strange for someone to be able to cultivate a high-grade will. While increasing his energy cultivation, Night Sorrow was also cultivating his realm. He wanted to increase his cultivation as soon as possible, and then destroy the evil spirit king. Then, his true body could go to the samsara palace in the world of samsara to cultivate and comprehend the will of nothingness. The comprehension of the nihility will was the key to determining Night Sorrow's ultimate height. Night Sorrow's doppelganger studied the letter that the Qing Emperor had given him. Many questions that he didn't understand before became clear as he studied the letter. Your Highness, when will your true body come to the world of samsara? I'll go and pick him up. Nothing can happen to your true body, Summer City said as he looked at Night Sorrow, who had finished cultivating his battle skills. Uncle Summer, I'm also in a hurry, but there's no other way. Night Sorrow explained his situation in the Nine Regions world. The only authentic VZB, he was a pirate. So that's how it is. This leap is a little too big. Even with some auxiliary methods, it's difficult to kill someone with such a leap. Your Highness can only increase your own height. Oh right, after becoming a Highness, the Qing Emperor's dynasty will give your Highness 100 years of cultivation time in the Samsara Palace. If you need more time, you'll need to exchange for merit points, Summer City said to Night Sorrow. The stability of the Nine Regions world is very important. My true body must guard it, Night Sorrow said. I know some of your information. It's too difficult to become a sector lord. Many monarchs can't do it. The world you belong to is very important to a sector lord. You must guard it, Summer City said to Night Sorrow. Thank you for your reminder, Uncle Summer. Night Sorrow saluted Summer City. You're welcome, Your Highness. Even if I didn't say it, Your Highness would know. Summer City shook his head. While they were talking, the Thunder Army's war drum sounded. Uncle Summer, wait for me here with Red Coat and Blue Shadow. I'll go and join the Thunder Army. After speaking, Night Sorrow left the attic and went to the Thunder Army's martial arts field. In the Thunder Army's martial arts field, the four armies had gathered. Princess Qing Wan and Qin Leitang stood on the high platform in front of the martial arts field. Everyone has rested for a long time. Now the warriors of the Dark Abyss have started to harass our Qing Emperor's dynasty's border again. Our Qing Wan army is guarding the area, so we're going to fight. Princess Qing Wan gave the order. Yes, Your Highness. Everyone waved their weapons. Night Sorrow stood in front of the Massacre God's territory and looked at Princess Qing Wan with Sky Splitter. Junior brother, do you plan to go too? Princess Qing Wan looked at Night Sorrow. I'm going. Night Sorrow looked at Princess Qing Wan for a moment and nodded. At this moment, Night Sorrow felt that Princess Qing Wan was really scheming. If she really didn't want him to go, she shouldn't have said it in front of others, but in front of all the soldiers of the Thunder Army. Even if he didn't want to go, he had to go. If he didn't go, he would lose face. Most importantly, he would lose face for the Qing Emperor. In order to make things difficult for him, Princess Qing Wan even used the Qing Emperor's face as a weapon. This made Night Sorrow feel disgusted. Compared to when she recruited him, her attitude and demeanor were completely different. However, Night Sorrow could understand. In the past, when she recruited him, it didn't affect her own interests. But now Night Sorrow was already a threat to her. After which, Everyone led their men to prepare for departure. Qing Wan, palace mistress, came to Night Sorrow's side. Junior brother, senior sister knew that you would definitely go, so I asked in front of the soldiers. This can also raise the morale, and also give junior brother some prestige. So don't mind it. Senior sister is thinking too much. Night Sorrow shook his head. He even had a feeling that his thoughts were wrong. But Night Sorrow knew that his first feeling wouldn't be wrong. In the pavilion, Summer City tapped his finger on the table. That's really the case. Hongyi Lanning, you guys stay here. I will secretly follow His Highness. Summer City knew that Night Sorrow would be ostracized, but he didn't expect Princess Qingwan to react so obviously. Now that Night Sorrow was still in his growth stage, he had to secretly follow him. Otherwise, if something happened, he wouldn't be able to answer to the Qing Emperor. After returning to the Thunder Army's tent, Princess Qingwan knew that what she said just now made Night Sorrow unhappy. This was because after she asked, Night Sorrow looked at her and hesitated for a moment. This was a reaction in his heart and a sign of resistance. Princess Qingwan let out a breath. She knew that she was too emotional today. She really shouldn't have done that. In Princess Qingwan's heart, if other princes received the title and power of His Highness, she could still accept it. After all, they were all her brothers. But Night Sorrow was an outsider. After waiting for a while, the Thunder Army gathered and set off. This time it was the Thunder Army of the Green Phoenix Army. The other three armies didn't go out. Because the Green Phoenix Army's camp was quite far from the border, the Thunder Army took 2 teleportation circles before arriving at the closest city. The fourth watch had arrived. Chapter 1128. In this city, the Thunder Army didn't stop at all, and continued to advance. Meng Dan followed beside Night Sorrow. Your Highness, this is your first battle. You don't understand the situation of the Dark Abyss, so you have to be careful. Thank you for your reminder, Commander Meng. I will be careful. Also, Commander Meng, you don't have to worry. Night Sorrow is just an ordinary deputy commander in the Thunder Army. I will do what I should do, Night Sorrow said to Meng Dan. He knew that his identity would bring some trouble to Meng Dan and the others. This was something he didn't want to see. Thank you, Your Highness. Meng Dan cupped his hands towards Night Sorrow. At this moment, his heart was touched because Night Sorrow's words were exactly what he was worried about. It's nothing. Night Sorrow smiled at Meng Dan. Haha, we can fight side by side with Your Highness. Wujia was very happy. This time, Princess Qingwan didn't come. The one leading the army was Qin Leitang. I am also looking forward to it. However, the days of us fighting together are still in the future, Night Sorrow said with a smile. Your Highness, you really don't have any plans to form an army? Qin Leitang, who was leading the way, asked. Yes, I just want to cultivate in peace. I've never thought about anything too complicated. Yishang nodded. Your Highness' state of mind is too rare. Brothers. This time, we are fighting side by side with His Highness Night Sorrow. Don't lose face. Qin Leitang turned around and shouted. Latest PQ new chapter top Q. The response to Qin Leitang was a wailing and howling. This group of people were all hot-blooded men. They liked Night Sorrow's casual personality and attitude. Last time, we didn't let Your Highness drink well. This time, when we return, we will drink well with Your Highness, Wujia said. Sure, I'm just afraid that if you shout too loudly, you will cover your head and say that you are dizzy in the end. Night Sorrow looked at Wujia and threw out a sentence that made many people laugh. Let's forget about last time, okay? Let's see next time. Wujia was embarrassed by Night Sorrow's words. Everyone from the Massacre God's territory laughed heartily. Wujia looked at everyone. Laugh all you want. I don't care. If you have the ability, try His Highness's alcohol tolerance. This was the Massacre of God's territory. Since it was not the time to issue battle orders, everyone was more casual. After flying for 2 hours, Qin Leitang gave the order to set up camp on the spot. Following which, the combat scouts were sent out. It was Achio's team. At this time, the sky was already dark. Night Sorrow set up a tent and lit a bonfire. His heart was a little restless, not because he was afraid, but because he was excited. Back then in the eastern Xian region, the scene of him fighting the demonic beasts in the dark space was similar to this. Meng Dan and Wu Jia came to Night Sorrow's side. Wu Jia took out some barbecued meat and heated it over the charcoal fire. "Your Highness, there's no need to worry. It's nothing. Our Thunderbolt Battalion has fought many battles like this in the past. As long as we don't get surrounded and don't go in alone, there won't be any problems," Wu Jia said. "General said that Your Highness has commanded several world wars. How could Your Highness be lacking in battle experience?" Meng Dan glanced at Wu Jia. "That's true. I'm just worried for nothing." Wu Jia nodded. 2 hours later, a Qiu returned. However, she reported the specific results to Qin Leitang, so the others didn't know the specific situation. After hearing a Qiu's report, Qin Leitang summoned the 4 battalions to gather. "We just found out that the level of the Dark Abyss warriors is average, but their numbers are terrifying. The difficulty of this battle is consumption. All right, all commanders, set out with your troops. Advance 1,000 miles and come back alive." Qin Leitang took out a general token and activated it. Then he issued the battle order. Every soldier in the Thunderbolt Battalion had an identity token. One of the functions of the token was to prove their identity, and the other function was to record military merits. Normally, the command medallion didn't have this effect, but in times of war, when the commander or general activated the command medallion in their hands, the medallion would absorb the life force of the killed opponent to form merit battle runes. Merit battle runes were equivalent to merit points. The 4 commanders of the Thunderbolt Battalion set out with their subordinates. Night Sorrow and Meng Dan led the soldiers of the Massacre Gods Battalion at the very center. After advancing for 200 miles, they encountered the Dark Abyss warriors. The Dark Abyss warriors' figures were similar to humans, but their faces had dark runes. They were wearing and holding the same battle sabers and armor. Battalion. Night Sorrow knew that this was the Dark Abyss Battalion's uniform, armor, and weapons. This was the battalion's equipment. "Kill, all those standing in front of us are military merits and resources," Meng Dan shouted at the soldiers of the Massacre Gods Battalion, and began to charge forward. Night Sorrow activated his protective barrier and slashed forward. "Your Highness, slow down," Wu Jia shouted. He was worried that Night Sorrow would be in danger. "It's nothing. Everyone, pay attention to your safety." Night Sorrow directly charged towards the Dark Abyss Battalion. He had promised that he would always appear before every battle. Night Sorrow's speed was extremely fast, almost the same as Meng Dan. The 1st Battalion led by Wu Jia followed behind Night Sorrow. When he got close to the Dark Abyss Battalion, Night Sorrow began to attack with Space Splitter. Most of the Dark Abyss Battalion were Saint Kings. Only a small portion of them were King ranks. Night Sorrow didn't need any battle skills to enter the Dark Abyss Battalion. Space Splitter was used to reap lives and accumulate military merits. Night Sorrow's back was littered with corpses. He could feel the token hanging from his waist, constantly absorbing the vitality of the Dark Abyss Battalion he killed. "Brothers, pay attention to your safety. If you encounter a king, surround him and kill him. That's all military merits," Wu Jia shouted. Hearing Wu Jia's shout, Night Sorrow's target changed. He targeted the Dark Abyss Battalion's king ranks and killed them. The military merits gained from killing Saint King rank Dark Abyss Battalion and King rank Dark Abyss Battalion captains and commanders were completely different. Night Sorrow wasn't fighting for military merits, but to reduce the danger to others. The Massacring Gods Battalion soldiers who noticed Night Sorrow's battle were all shocked. Night Sorrow was fighting for his life. He didn't look like a noble highness at all. At this moment he looked more like a charging soldier. If it wasn't a king-rank Dark Abyss Battalion, Night Sorrow could casually wave Space Splitter and rely on his physical strength to kill them. If he encountered a king-rank Dark Abyss Battalion commander, he would use his energy and battle skills to kill them. Night Sorrow remembered Qin Leitang's words. There were many Dark Abyss Battalion soldiers, so they had to avoid exhausting themselves. As the slaughter continued, Night Sorrow slowly moved deeper into the Dark Abyss Battalion. The Thunder Battalion soldiers weren't as fast as him, so they couldn't kill as fast as him. Gradually, the distance between them widened. Night Sorrow didn't care about this. If it wasn't for a high-level king-ranked Dark Abyss battalion appearing out of nowhere, there was no way he could be killed instantly. Knight Sorrow needed military merits. Not only did he need them, but the 9 regions' world's cultivators were low-level, and their cultivation techniques were poor. With military merits, he could exchange them for what he needed. As for Princess Qingyuan, Knight Sorrow didn't count on her anymore. Their relationship had changed, and it was different from before. Now Princess Qingyuan was rejecting him. First update. The announcement was made yesterday. Counting from yesterday, the reward is now 200. If someone says it's expensive, then I'll add more. If there are people who say it's expensive, then I'll add more. If there aren't, then it's not bad either. We won't force you, so I'm not tired of adding 4. Also, if there are people who say I'll add less than 4, please don't say such things again. It's not good for anyone if we get into an argument. Let's have fun. I've never forced anyone, and it's fine if you read white books. We're all book fans, but don't make unreasonable requests. Chapter 1129. Before Knight Sorrow became the disciple of the Qing Emperor, Princess Qingyuan was very polite and courteous. But now, because Knight Sorrow was also the prince of the Qing Emperor's imperial dynasty, she had misgivings in her heart. It could also be said that she was suspicious of him. Speaking of other things, she didn't give Hong Yi and Lanning the cloning technique. She had said that she would give it to him. Since it didn't work with Princess Qingyuan, Knight Sorrow had other plans and had to rely on himself. Heads and flesh flew everywhere. Wherever Knight Sorrow went, it was like harvesting wheat. Kill. There was no mercy in a battle between legions. Being merciful to the enemy was being cruel to one's own people and to the Thunder Legion's soldiers. Most of the soldiers of the massacring gods' territory followed behind Yishang. One reason was that they were worried about Yishang's safety. Another reason was that it was easier to kill those behind Yishang. The Dark Legion had been scattered by Yishang. Wu Jia rushed to Knight Sorrow's side and supported Knight Sorrow. Currently, other than Meng Dan who was supervising the battle, only Wu Jia could keep up with Knight Sorrow's rhythm. The others had already distanced themselves. Your Highness, ferocious. While fighting, Wu Jia yelled out loudly. Haha! Let's fight to our heart's content. Knight Sorrow used a space-twisting dragon kill and a time shockwave to kill a King Darkness Legion's captain and laughed. Well said. Let's fight to our heart's content. Wu Jia's battle intent was also high. A group of people kept pushing forward. The Darkness Legion also quickly gathered and constantly clashed with each other. After the collision, the Dark Warriors would be killed and eliminated. The Massacre God's leader was the elite of the Green Luan army. Their battle strength was extremely powerful. Moreover, the coordination of the battle formation was of a higher level than before. Their battle strength and lethality had a huge increase. After pushing forward for 1,000 miles, Massacre God's territory fought for 8 hours before they reached the target line. When they reached the target line, Meng Dan ordered them to set up defenses. The Legion's battle was a coordinated battle. One team couldn't go too deep. Knight Sorrow made himself a tent and boiled water to make tea. Wu Jia and some other captains, as well as a Qiu, who was more familiar with Knight Sorrow, all ran over to Knight Sorrow's place to drink tea and chat. Ah Qiu, you lazy bum. Go get a wild beast and roast it. Wu Jia nodded at Ah Qiu. Qiu smiled and went to work. Everyone was more casual. After Ah Qiu got the wild beasts, Wu Jia took out some wine. Everyone casually drank some wine, and then went to cultivate and rest, because there was still a big battle tomorrow. However, Meng Dan came to Knight Sorrow's place. Your Highness, you don't have to fight so hard. Just do what you can, Meng Dan said. Back then, I made a promise. As long as we fight, I want to be in front of my brothers. If we retreat, I want to be at the back. If we don't keep our word, we can't stand. As long as we are in the Massacring God's territory, I will do this. Knight Sorrow poured a bowl of wine for Meng Dan and said, This is the good fortune of the brothers of the Massacring God's territory. Meng Dan will thank your Highness on behalf of our brothers. Meng Dan cupped his hands towards Knight Sorrow. Commander Meng, you don't have to do this. I am a soldier of the Massacring God's territory. I will fulfill the responsibilities and obligations of a soldier. Night Sorrow cupped his hands in return. I don't know what to say when you guys are so polite. Qin Leitang arrived at Night Sorrow's tent. Greetings, General. Mengdan bowed. Night Sorrow also cupped his hands towards Qin Leitang. Your Highness, how many enemies did you kill? Why are the military inscriptions on the tokens so densely packed? Qin Leitang looked at Night Sorrow's token and asked. Your Highness charged at the front today and killed the most enemies. You even killed many king-level Dark Warrior captains, Mengdan said. Your Highness, I believe that such life and death battles are beneficial for your growth. However, you still have to pay attention to your safety. Qin Leitang looked at Night Sorrow and said, Thank you for your advice, General. Night Sorrow will remember it. Night Sorrow nodded. Looking at Night Sorrow, Qin Leitang pondered for a moment. There are some things that you don't have to worry about. Perhaps some people have doubts and scruples about your Highness, but I won't. As long as your Highness is in the Thunderbolt army, I won't let anything happen. If I can't do anything, I will let your Highness leave or retire in advance. Night Sorrow looked at Qin Leitang. He didn't expect Qin Leitang to say something like this. This was equivalent to standing in his shoes and thinking about the problem. You don't have to look at me like that. I am a member of the Qing Emperor's dynasty. Naturally, I can't watch your Highness get hurt. Most importantly, I am a soldier, so I respect true soldiers. Your Highness is such a person. Qin Leitang explained the reason behind his words. Night Sorrow smiled helplessly. Actually, I am not a complicated person. I became Master's disciple to improve my own strength. I have never thought of becoming your Highness. I came to the Green Phoenix Army to be a soldier and fulfill a promise. At the same time, I will accumulate some military merits and earn some resources. On the last section of the new chapter, I understand. I really understand. Don't worry. I will go take a look at the other 3 territories. Mengdan, make arrangements for the soldiers in the Massacre God territory. Tomorrow's mission will be sent over tomorrow morning. After giving a few more instructions, Qin Leitang left. He wanted to check on the situation in the other territories, and then give out orders for tomorrow's battle. Night Sorrow and Mengdan filled the wine cup again. Your Highness, let's not talk about anything else. Drink this bowl of wine and rest. After drinking the wine, Mengdan also left Night Sorrow's tent. Qin Leitang and Mengdan were hot-blooded soldiers, but it didn't mean that they didn't know some twists and turns. They knew that Night Sorrow was being doubted. Princess Qingluan asked Night Sorrow if he was going to participate in the battle. They felt that there was another meaning behind that question. Night Sorrow drank a pot of tea and took out a chair. He covered himself with a blanket and laid on it to rest. The main body's cultivation was enough for Yishang. Now taking a break was relaxing. After dawn, Mengdan and Wujia went to Night Sorrow's tent. Looking at Night Sorrow, who was still sleeping, the two were stunned. How many people who cultivated to the king level slept? Moreover, there was going to be a big battle soon. At this moment, Night Sorrow stretched and sat up. Comfortable. Other than your Highness, no one can do this. Wujia curled his lips and said. Hee. I'm just resting for a while. Night Sorrow said with a smile. While they were talking, the messenger came with Qin Leitang's battle order. Today's mission was to not change the direction and advance 600 li yesterday. Advancing 1,000 li was nothing to Massacre God's territory, but there was pressure on the other 3 territories. Therefore, Qin Leitang made some adjustments. After tidying up, the group set off and continued the battle. Night Sorrow was still the same as before. He was at the front. Because Mengdan had to coordinate with the overall situation, she let Wujia follow Night Sorrow and be the sharp blade of the group. They were going to eliminate the tough bones among the Dark Warriors. Night Sorrow's command token was getting denser and denser. This was very rare for others. The soldiers of Massacre God's territory also admired Night Sorrow. In Massacre God's territory, there were quite a number of 2-star king. The captains were all mid-level king. However, none of them were as powerful as Night Sorrow. The second update has arrived. The announcement was made yesterday. Counting from yesterday, the reward will be 200. If someone says it's expensive, then it's fine. If there are people who say it's expensive, I'll add. If there aren't, then it's also not bad. We won't force you. I'm not tired of 4 updates. Also, if there are people who say I'll guarantee 4 updates, please don't say this again. It's not good for anyone. Let's have fun. I didn't force anyone. It doesn't matter if you read white books. We are all book fans. However, don't make any unreasonable requests. Chapter 1130. Sometimes, Night Sorrow's sky-piercing spear would fly out to save the soldiers of Massacre God's territory if they were in danger. After fighting for a few days, Night Sorrow's prestige in Massacre God's territory grew higher and higher. Night Sorrow was a newbie in Massacre God's territory. They had never fought together before, so everyone felt a sense of unfamiliarity with him. In addition, Night Sorrow was the 3rd prince of the Qing Emperor's imperial court. His status was revered, and the soldiers of Massacre God's territory felt a sense of distance from him. However, as they fought and Night Sorrow fought every battle, the sense of unfamiliarity and distance slowly disappeared. They all became familiar with him. Whoever had barbecued meat or good wine would give Night Sorrow a portion. The iron-blooded soldiers wouldn't flatter anyone, and they didn't need it. If there was respect and affection, then everyone would chat and laugh together. If they didn't want to bother with you, they could just ignore you. Wu Jia and the other captains would look for Night Sorrow to have a meal after the battle. Every time Achio came, he would carry a wild beast to do it well. Otherwise, Wu Jia would scold him. Achio was brought out by Wu Jia. Although they weren't master and disciple, they were considered an elder brother. Mengden also often hung out with Night Sorrow. He was the commander, and Night Sorrow was the vice commander. Night Sorrow was the sharp knife at the front, and he was in the middle to command the entire situation. The two of them cooperated well. Qin Leitang would come once a day to ask about the situation, and then formulate a tactical mission. He was very happy that Night Sorrow got along well with everyone. He thought highly of Night Sorrow, so he was very concerned about Night Sorrow's situation in Massacre God's territory. Night Sorrow's token changed color. It was originally white, but now it was blue. After a transition in the middle, it was green. The token would only change color when it reached 1,000 military points. This also meant that Night Sorrow was about to reach 3,000 military points. Killing a Saint King Peak Dark Warrior was 1 military point, and killing a King-level Dark Warrior would give more. After every battle, a quartermaster would clear out all the merit tokens and report them to the Qing Emperor's palace. In fact, the officials in charge of the meritorious deeds were the officials of the Qing Emperor's palace. They had no right to operate within the army. In other words, the meritorious deeds of the Qing Emperor's dynasty could not be faked, and no one could do so. Everyone's merit was recorded in the Qing Emperor's palace. Anyone who wanted to exchange for resources could go to the merit hall of the Qing Emperor's palace. Merit points were hard to come by, and it required a high quota to exchange for top-level resources. For example, the minimum exchange time for cultivation in the Samsara Palace was 10 years, and 10 years of cultivation required 100,000 merit points. Night Sorrow's 3,000 contribution points were less than half a year's worth. Thinking about it, Night Sorrow understood. The Ninth Heaven Pagoda only opened once every 3,000 years. It would be very difficult to obtain a slot. The Samsara Palace in the Supreme World was more advanced, and cultivation time was more precious. It was normal to spend 100,000 merit points for 10 years. As for why Princess Qing Yuan had so much time to cultivate, it was because she was the commander of the Qing Yuan army. If the Qing Yuan army won a battle, the soldiers would have battle merits. As the commander, she would also have battle merits. Moreover, her battle merits were the highest because the Qing Yuan army was hers. Night Sorrow didn't know if Princess Qing Yuan would mention the cultivation time in the Samsara Palace again, but he didn't care. He had become the prince and already had cultivation time. He would continue to accumulate merit points to exchange for resources and cultivation methods. The Dark Abyss was a special country with more dark warriors. Therefore, the Dark Dominator didn't care about the consumption. As long as he attacked the surrounding forces, he could plunder resources. Survival of the fittest was the law of survival in the Dark Abyss. Wars eliminated some members with low cultivation and could get resources. This was the reason why the Dark Abyss started wars. The Qing Emperor's dynasty wanted to destroy the invaders. They would kill as many as they came. This situation had been going on for many years. The Qing Yuan army was responsible for half of the defense line in the Dark Abyss, while the Green Scale army was responsible for the other half. The other borders of the Qing Emperor's dynasty were also divided. Wherever there was a problem, the army would go out to fight. If the Green Scale army and the Qing Yuan army couldn't solve the problem, then there was the Qing Emperor's city guards. If the Qing Emperor's city guards couldn't solve the problem, then it was time for the Qing Emperor's guards to move out. However, in the long history, the Qing Emperor's guards had only been mobilized a few times. Knight Sorrow planned to let his clone mingle in the Qing Yuan army, while his original body cultivated. In order to complete the trade with Princess Qing Yuan, Knight Sorrow's minimum service period was 1,000 years. 1,000 years might be a long time, but it was nothing in the eyes of high-level cultivators. Knight Sorrow had his original body cultivating, so the influence of his clone's service was only so. After 1,000 years of service, Knight Sorrow felt that he could also accumulate a lot of merit points. It was going smoothly. The war was going smoothly. After half a month, only a few soldiers from the massacring god's territory died. Of course, danger appeared a few times when the Dark Abyss army's commander appeared. Knight Sorrow couldn't win, and Meng Dan could only hold them off. Qin Leitang, who received the message, could only take them down. The results were the same several times. After killing another Dark Abyss army commander, Qin Leitang left. Luckily, the general came in time every time. Otherwise, we would have suffered heavy losses. Knight Sorrow said emotionally. The general isn't in any of the armies. Usually the command tent is in the center of the 4 armies. If any army is in danger, the general will appear. Meng Dan said. Knight Sorrow nodded. He understood that the battle order was given with a plan. Distance, consumption, and rescue were all part of Qin Leitang's plan. The battle continued. In the middle, Princess Qing Yuan came once and said something to Knight Sorrow. However, Knight Sorrow felt that something was wrong. The feeling was completely different from before. After thinking for a while, Knight Sorrow understood that her heart had changed. Princess Qing Yuan couldn't treat him as well as before. He was a threat to the other 2 princes of the Qing Emperor dynasty. Whether Knight Sorrow fought or not, this threat was still there. Such a situation was helpless. However, Knight Sorrow wasn't afraid. He was willing to keep a low profile. If Qing Lin and Qing Yuan used any methods, he could return to the 9 grand floors and form his own army. He had a promise to serve the Qing Emperor dynasty. Forming an army was also to serve the Qing Emperor dynasty. However, unless it was a last resort, Knight Sorrow wouldn't do that. He didn't want to hurt the relationship between master and disciple. Qing Lin and Qing Yuan were the children of the Qing Emperor. If he formed an army, it would mean that he wanted to compete with them. Knight Sorrow felt that it wasn't appropriate to compete with his master's children. Meng Dan's arrival made Knight Sorrow's thoughts stop. Z equals latest chapter previous. Your Highness, what are you thinking about? Meng Dan sat down and asked. Your Highness has come. Commander Meng knows. I feel like everything has changed. I feel helpless. Knight Sorrow sighed. Meng Dan didn't say anything. She knew about this. When Knight Sorrow challenged, Qing Yuan's attitude and arrangements were different from now. After returning to the border city, Princess Qing Yuan went to the inn arranged by the city lord. Your Highness, should you change the way you interact with Knight Sorrow? Zhuo Tingyun thought for a while and asked. Chapter 1131. Change the way I get along with Knight Sorrow? Princess Qing Yuan looked at Zhuo Tingyun. Yes, Knight Sorrow is a smart person. He can feel the princess's attitude. If he doesn't want to get along with you sincerely, then it would be a waste of the foundation he had built in the past, Zhuo Tingyun said. Princess Qing Yuan didn't say anything. Ever since she knew that Knight Sorrow was valued by the Qing Emperor and became a prince, her heart was not calm. He is very stable now. He doesn't have any other thoughts. If he feels enmity and doesn't feel a sense of belonging, he might walk to the opposite side of the princess, Zhuo Tingyun said. Your Majesty is angry. He is just a native of a small world. Now he is actually on the same level as the Crown Prince and your Majesty. What right does he have? Princess Qinghuan stood up agitatedly. Forgive me for saying this, but where did the Crown Prince and Princess get their prince's positions? It was given by His Majesty. His Majesty can give it to whoever he wants. No one can question it. The Qing Emperor's matters cannot be hidden from His Majesty. If the princess and Knight Sorrow have a conflict, I am afraid that it will lower the princess's position in His Majesty's heart, Zhuo Tingyun said. Zhuo Tingyun had followed the Qing Emperor before, so he understood the Qing Emperor very well. He was ordered to assist Princess Qinghuan, so there were some things that he didn't want to see. Princess Qinghuan looked at Zhuo Tingyun and thought. Zhuo Tingyun's words were a little harsh, but they were all reasonable. Her and the Crown Prince's positions were given by the Qing Emperor. The Qing Emperor could give it or take it back. The Qing Emperor supported Knight Sorrow to become a prince. If she did anything, it would be a slap to the Qing Emperor's face. Even if the Qing Emperor didn't say it, he would have some thoughts in his heart. At the very least, he would be disgusted. The only official version, the others were the official version. Elder Zhuo, your Majesty and the Crown Prince are father's princes and princesses, but what about him? Princess Qinghuan's words were filled with emotions. His Majesty pursues two things. The first is his own strength. The second is the long-term stability of the Qing Emperor's dynasty. As long as the Qing Emperor's dynasty doesn't decline, his bloodline can continue. He doesn't care who has a higher position and power, as long as you can live well. It is. You value Yishang because you think he can bring stability to the Qing Emperor's empire? Princess Qinghuan asked. She wasn't just asking Zhuo Tingyun. She was also asking herself. Zhuo Tingyun understood the situation very clearly. Putting Knight Sorrow's value to the Qing Emperor's dynasty aside, the Qing Emperor liked and appreciated Knight Sorrow. There was no doubt about this. If Green Qilin and Princess Qinghuan made any moves, the Qing Emperor would first think that they didn't have enough courage and breadth of mind. He would think that they wouldn't be able to achieve great things. Your Highness, being on good terms with Knight Sorrow will make your Highness' position in the Qing Emperor's dynasty more stable. Seeing that Princess Qinghuan's emotions were gradually stabilizing, Zhuo Tingyun once again spoke his opinion. Thank you for your advice, Elder Zhuo. I will remember it. I must let go of my emotions. Even if I can't, I must keep it in my heart. Princess Qinghuan had thought it through. Knight Sorrow fought every day. Every time he fought, he would rush to the front. His merits also increased. His friendship with the soldiers of the Massacre God's leader also deepened. Seeing the brothers of the Massacre God's leader fighting, Knight Sorrow felt that it was time to bring his brothers to the world of reincarnation. Most of the members of the God-slaying team were paragons. Some were saints. Their development was still limited in the 9 regions world. People like Liang Yu, Yin Huang, and Ling Long all had high aptitudes. As for guidance, there were 2 great experts in the 9 Grand Pagoda. Fei Xiu and Shen Han were both outstanding king. Shen Han was slightly weaker, but Fei Xiu was a monarch. The Qing Emperor's Guard was the most elite team in the Qing Emperor's dynasty. It was normal for the captain to be a monarch. One must know that the Green Qilin Palace and Princess Qinghuan Palace didn't have the Qing Emperor's Guard stationed there. Knight Sorrow decided that after this battle, he would bring the members of the God-slaying team, his family, and the people around him to the 9 Grand Pagoda. There was no other way. Everyone's short cultivation time was a disadvantage. They all needed the time pagoda to speed up. Therefore, they could only gather together and use the time pagoda together. If it was in the past, Knight Sorrow wouldn't dare to do this because he was surrounded by danger in the world of reincarnation. However, it was different now. The 9 Grand Pagoda was absolutely safe. In the Qing Emperor's dynasty, other than the Qing Emperor's order, no one dared to enter the 9 Grand Pagoda. The Qing Emperor wouldn't threaten Knight Sorrow's safety. After fighting for a month, the Thunder Army fought to the border between the Qing Emperor's dynasty and the Dark Abyss. They even went deeper before stopping. After a war of attrition, the Massacre God's leader was also exhausted. More than 10 people died. This was something that couldn't be helped. There were always deaths on the battlefield. After a month of fighting, Knight Sorrow had accumulated tens of thousands of military merits. Ordinary soldiers couldn't compare to him. Even Mengdan and Wu Jia's military merits were inferior to Knight Sorrow's. We'll rest for a day today. We'll return tomorrow. As for the responsibility of cleaning up the remaining people, Your Highness has gained quite a lot of military merits. When you return, you must treat us to a drink, Wu Jia said. Of course. There's no problem. It's a pity that some of our brothers have left, Knight Sorrow said to the soldiers of the Massacre God's leader. Your Highness, don't think too much. We have an agreement. Dying in battle is an honor. There's no need for anyone to feel sad. Moreover, Your Highness has kept your promise. Every time you charge, you'll be at the front. When you retreat, you'll be at the back, Wu Jia said. Who doesn't have parents, wife and children? No one is afraid of death when they serve in the army. However, if they die in battle, their family will be damaged. There will be less laughter. Knight Sorrow lamented. We still have to urge them to work hard in their cultivation. The more power they have, the more hope they have of surviving. Mengdan was also affected by Knight Sorrow's emotions. After the 4 leaders of the Thunder Army retreated, Knight Sorrow realized that the Massacre God's leader had the least casualties. The other leaders had 30 to 40 casualties. Wu Jia then told Knight Sorrow that in the past battles, the Massacre God's leader was stronger than the other 3 leaders. However, it wasn't so obvious. Now it was the joint attack formation that had taken effect. The Thunder Army returned to the Green Phoenix Army's encampment. After returning to his own resting loft, Knight Sorrow saw Summer City drinking tea. He didn't know that Summer City had been in the battlefield all this time to protect his safety. He had just returned yesterday. Young Master, Her Highness Green Phoenix sent us a clone technique, Hongyi said. Knight Sorrow was stunned. He felt that this shouldn't be the case. Previously, Green Phoenix Army's apprehension and suspicion were very obvious. At different times, their thoughts are different. Perhaps they have thought it through, because it's useless if they don't, Summer City said. Knight Sorrow nodded. He could understand the logic behind it. Then Knight Sorrow asked Summer City if he could bring his hometown people to live in the 9 grand floors. Of course you can. His Majesty has bestowed this place to you, so it's your territory. If the cultivators of this small world want to rise, vision is very important. Watching the Qing Emperor's Guard and the city guards cultivate will allow them to gain insights. Also, it's not a problem for Fei Xiu and the others to give pointers. Here, your words are orders. Summer City said. The 4th update had arrived. It was estimated that there would be 3 more updates today, which was 7. The remaining 2 updates would be transferred to tomorrow. Chapter 1132. That's not so bad. I came to the world of samsara to get some opportunities for my hometown to rise. Of course, the current good situation is all because of my master, not the result of my hard work. Yishang said. Your Highness, it's good to have such a mentality, but don't belittle yourself. If you're not good enough and have no value, you won't have this opportunity. This is also a kind of ability. Confidence, you must be confident. If you have it, you must have your reasons. Summer City looked at Knight Sorrow and said. He appreciated Knight Sorrow's mentality, but he felt that he couldn't lose his edge and confidence. Uncle Summer, don't worry. I'm very confident. As long as I work hard, I can fight for my life, Knight Sorrow said. Very good. In fact, I won't hide it from you. I came to your Highness from His Majesty's side. When Qinglin Crown Prince became the Crown Prince, he was assisted by Shengguan Hong. When Qingwan Crown Prince became independent, Zhuo Tingyun followed him. What I want to do is to watch your Highness rise. Your achievements in the Qing Emperor's dynasty also represent the success of my assistants, Summer City said. Uncle Summer, I'm sorry. Knight Sorrow knew that Summer City was his protector in the Qing Emperor's dynasty, and even in the world of samsara. Your Highness, don't say that. His Majesty thinks highly of your Highness, so do I. There's nothing to be sorry about. Summer City shook his head. Uncle Summer, if there's anything you need me to do, just tell me. I'm both a weapon refiner and an alchemist. Night Sorrow said. He knew that Summer City's fate was closely related to his. If Summer City was strong enough to suppress the protectors of Qinglin and Qingwan, then everything would be much smoother. Weapons and armors can indeed increase one's battle prowess, but they are all external items. The key is still to increase one's own strength. At my level, it is already very difficult to increase one's own strength. It can be said that it is difficult to take even a single step forward. I can only rely on my comprehension to research absolute arts, Xiacheng said. Uncle Summer, I still have spirit perception pills and yin spirit pills. Do you need them? Night Sorrow asked. To improve my comprehension and spirituality, I do need them. Summer City looked at Night Sorrow and said. Yishang took out the profound spirit pill and spirit comprehension pill, and gave them to Xiacheng. The profound spirit pill was an elixir vein profound spirit pill. He still had a few elixir vein profound spirit pills, but he couldn't use them carelessly because he had to prepare them for his future child. But Your Highness, you can rest assured that Qinglin Crown Prince and Princess Qingwan Princess of. If it was someone else's elixir, Xia City might not accept it. That was a favor. Big favors were karma, and it was very difficult to repay them in the future. However, Night Sorrow was different. In the future he would work for Night Sorrow and work for Night Sorrow. I don't want to compete with them, and I don't want to fight with them. Master taught me how to cultivate. If I fight with them, Master will be sad and disappointed. But if anyone threatens my life, then I won't sit still and wait for death. Night Sorrow expressed his opinion, which was also his principle. You're right. Actually, Your Highness has some foundation now. The Qing Emperor's guards in the 9 grand floors only listen to Your Highness and your orders. In a few days, I'll hand over my position as the commander of the Qing Emperor's guards. However, the troops I've transferred now belong to Your Highness. They're the strongest troops. Summer City said some things that Night Sorrow didn't know. Thank you, Uncle Summer. You've arranged some things for me. Night Sorrow stood up and bowed to Summer City. It's nothing. Right now, Your Highness just needs to do what you need to do. If the Green Phoenix Army is at war, then Your Highness will participate. If you have nothing to do, then come back and cultivate. If there are people you can't let go of or people you need to train, then bring them to the 9 grand floors. Although Your Highness doesn't want to form an army, it's necessary to develop your subordinate strength. Also, Your Highness can recruit a personal army of 500 people. As for the resources for the soldiers, that's all arranged by the Qing Emperor's palace. It won't put any pressure on Your Highness. Summer City explained some things to Night Sorrow. Okay, I'll have to trouble Uncle Summer with this. I don't really understand these things right now. Night Sorrow said. Okay, then I'll arrange some people to do it. Summer City nodded. Night Sorrow thought for a moment and said, in addition, leave 100 people for the personal army. When the people around me come over, they'll train and cultivate with everyone. If they can have the treatment of the personal army, it'll be helpful for their development. Summer City nodded. He understood why Night Sorrow made such arrangements. Although the personal army's strength might be weaker, it would give the people around him a chance. Then Summer City reminded Night Sorrow that the key was still the original body. When the original body could go to the Samsara Palace to cultivate and improve himself was very important. During the cultivation period, the cultivators who entered the Samsara Palace and came out would have a great improvement in their achievements. Night Sorrow thought, making a choice and analyzing. He was analyzing if his original body went to cultivate. Would the Dark Spirit world erupt within 100 years? Would the Dark Spirit King move? After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow felt that he had to wait. The cultivation time in the Samsara Palace was very important, and he couldn't waste it. After entering, he had to cultivate calmly. Looking at Night Sorrow thinking, Summer City didn't disturb him. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow told Summer City that he would go back to the 9 regions world and bring his family and the god-slaying team over. Originally, Night Sorrow didn't want to bring anyone, but Summer City arranged for Feishio to bring the capable Qing Emperor's guards and follow Night Sorrow. 2 monarchs followed. Even Princess Qingwan didn't have such treatment. When the Qing Emperor arranged for Princess Qing Yuan, only Zhuo Tingyun was a master. There was no Qing Emperor's guards. Now that Knight Sorrow had such treatment, the captain of the Qing Emperor's guards was naturally a master. Knight Sorrow first went to the Tianding Gate and greeted his master Yu Yangyu. Then he chatted with Elder Xiang for a while. Yu Yangyu and the others didn't plan to move. They were now managing Danding Peak at the Tianding Gate. Knight Sorrow supported Yu Yangyu and the others' decision. Everyone's choice and path were completely different. Then he met Beixing and King of the Big Dipper, and learned that the Yanmen sect had publicly apologized and given Chia City material compensation. Knight Sorrow felt that this result was good. He didn't have to fight to the death with the Yanmen sect. When King of the Greedy Wolf wanted to drink with Knight Sorrow, Summer City took a step forward. The energy in his body vibrated, and directly shook Greedy Wolf King back. Be polite to our prince. Uncle Summer, it's okay. He's my friend. Knight Sorrow shook his head at Summer City, and then smiled apologetically at Greedy Wolf King. Prince? What prince? Beixing asked curiously. It's like this. I have another master. He's the Qing Emperor of the Qing Emperor's dynasty. Knight Sorrow said. If no one asked, Knight Sorrow wouldn't say it. That would be showing off. At this time, King Xiantian also arrived. When he saw Summer City and Fei Xiu, he cupped his hands. As a monarch, he naturally knew how strong Summer City and Fei Xiu were. Chapter 1133. Knight Sorrow introduced both parties to one another. His Highness went to the world of reincarnation to fight, in essence, for the continent of the Nine Clouds. In the future, there won't be any supreme forces in the continent of the Nine Clouds. But His Highness's forces in the continent of the Nine Clouds, please take care of them, Monarch Xiantian. If anyone wants to touch them, send a message to the 9 Layers Tower of the Qing Emperor dynasty. I will bring people to clean them up, said Xiacheng. Strong and domineering. This was Summer City. He was polite to Knight Sorrow, but his attitude was different from others. Please rest assured, Monarch of Summer City. We will take care of these things. Monarch Xiantian nodded. This time he came in person. When Knight Sorrow and the others arrived at the teleportation array, Monarch Xiantian's clone knew. The 2 monarchs followed Knight Sorrow here. It was inappropriate for his clone to come. It was disrespectful. Senior Xiantian, my sect in the 9 Domains world was the Medicine Valley, and the Medicine Valley was a branch of the Tianding Gate. Please take care of it, Monarch Xiantian. Don't fall into any traps, Knight Sorrow said. Monarch Xiantian nodded. He didn't need Knight Sorrow to say this. He had to do it well because the 9 Firmament World Group owed Knight Sorrow. Some time ago, after Knight Sorrow left, Monarch Xiantian found Yanmen sect and gave them 2 choices. They could apologize and compensate, or they could be destroyed. Faced with Monarch Xiantian's strong suppression, Yanmen sect could only choose to apologize and compensate. After talking for a while, Knight Sorrow arrived at 7 Night City. He took Summer City and Fei Xiu for a walk. When Knight Sorrow arrived at 7 Night City, the higher-ups of the 9 Domains world had received the news and came over. Knight Sorrow looked at Tai Shu Yen and Long Xiansheng and asked about the situation. Tai Shu Yen bowed and reported some recent progress. Originally, what the 9 regions world lacked was resources. Even though Knight Sorrow had prepared a lot of Saint Spirit stones, it was still not enough. Fortunately, the Yanmen sect had sent over a batch of resources. Now the 9 regions world, 7 Night City and Clear Sky City, were working together on 2 fronts. Knight Sorrow didn't hide it from anyone. He told them about the current situation in the world of reincarnation. He could give some people a chance. Everyone was thinking about it. No one said that they wanted to go to the reincarnation great world, because the 9 regions world lacked people and resources. If the management went to the reincarnation great world, then the Commander-in-Chief's residence, 7 Night City, and Supreme Sky City would be paralyzed. How about this? You guys continue to focus on the construction of 7 Night City. I will work hard to earn resources and cultivation methods. Just wait for me, Knight Sorrow said. Your Highness, if we can get a king-class teleportation crystal, Seven Night City can open up a teleportation array with our Nine Chong building. That way, it will be more convenient for us to come and go in the future. Summer City said, I still have a king-grade teleportation stone. It can sever a main body and some clones. Night Sorrow's eyes lit up. This was a good idea. If the Nine Chong building and Seven Night City could teleport to each other, it would be much more convenient in the future. Night Sorrow cut the king-class teleportation crystal that no beginning sovereign took out. Then he embedded the clones into the teleportation array in Seven Night City. He teleported back to the Nine Chong building and set up a teleportation array. The teleportation array in the Nine Chong building didn't need anyone to guard it. The loyalty of the Qing Emperor's guards and the city guards was not a problem. They were the most important teams in Summer City. They were all his trusted subordinates. After setting up the teleportation array, Night Sorrow returned to Seven Night City and went to the city in the sky. Night Sorrow didn't force some people to go to the reincarnation Great World. However, he had to bring some people with him. The God-slaying team. He had to bring his wife, parents, and 2 disciples. He also had to bring Xuexi, Zhu Juyun, and Wu Lingfei. There were also 2 other people, Jun Xuanji and Ren Tianji. Forever. Jun Xuanji and Ren Tianji used to be the 2 most outstanding talents in the Xuanji realm. After the war, their cultivation had increased exponentially. It was very difficult for Ren Tianji to enter the Saint realm. However, he had perseverance and managed to break through. Then his cultivation improved by leaps and bounds. Just like Jun Xuanji, he was now a high-level saint. Therefore, he decided to go out and take a look. Night Sorrow supported him. He also needed some people around him to take care of some things. Ren Tianji didn't say anything. Jun Xuanji was very capable. He could definitely take care of some things in the Nine Chong building. As for He Qiu, it wasn't that Night Sorrow didn't trust her. It was just that he wasn't very familiar with her. After retrieving the Pagoda of Time and Space, Night Sorrow gathered the members of the God-slaying team. In addition, he called his parents, sister, and disciples to the mansion. Then he told them his plan. Everyone supported Night Sorrow's decision. Yi Wuyo looked at his son and said, Night Sorrow, Saint King Qianhua, great ancestor, and your grandfather's cultivation aptitude is excellent. Can you take them with you? Night Sorrow nodded. In fact, even if Yi Wuyo didn't say anything, Night Sorrow would ask. Yi Qianhua was previously unable to enter the king's realm because of some restrictions. Now the situation inside and outside the 9 regions world had improved. If he worked hard, he would have a chance to enter the king's realm. Night Sorrow also asked Aoi and Yang Lei to go to the Medicine Valley. He asked his senior brothers if anyone was willing to go to the world of Samsara. Night Sorrow had always remembered his senior brother's care when he was young. If there was a chance, he would definitely not be stingy to help Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow rested for 2 days. Yang Lei and Aoi came back, followed by Emo-chun and Chu Lingfei. Seeing Emo-chun, Night Sorrow was very happy. He went forward and gave Emo-chun a hug. Among the 12 senior brothers, Night Sorrow and Emo-chun were the closest. It was Emo-chun who took him out to train and cared for him a lot. 13 I miss you. We haven't seen each other for a while. Emo-chun knocked on Night Sorrow's shoulder and said, I miss you too, but there are too many things to do. This time, we'll have more chances to see each other when we go to the Nine Chong Pagoda, Night Sorrow said. Then Night Sorrow told them about the current situation. He also said that Yu Yangyu and the others were not willing to go. They planned to develop Danding Peak at the Tianding Gate. Everyone has different goals. Maybe this is what Master and the others want. We can't force them. Emo-chun said. I know. If there's nothing else, let's go. Night Sorrow nodded. Now that the 9 regions world was stable, they were competing with the outside world. Increasing their strength was especially important. A group of people using the teleportation array would cost a lot. If they used someone else's teleportation array, they would have to pay more spirit stones. Night Sorrow was the realm lord of the 9 regions world and the city lord of 7 Night City. Therefore, he only had to pay the cost of using the teleportation array. Night Sorrow also said that before it was open to the public, the teleportation array would only be charged the cost. After reaching the Nine Chong Pagoda, Night Sorrow called Fei Xiu and He Qiu to the training ground. Then he set up the time pagoda at the side. The members of the god-slaying team were also gathered here. Yi Shan had gathered everyone here, because he had something to say to them. First, Yi Shang introduced everyone so that they could get to know each other. I want to say a few words. After entering the Nine-Chong Pagoda, everyone will be one family. We will share honor and disgrace together. Night Sorrow said. 6th update. Chapter 1134. Night Sorrow looked at Shen Han and said, "This time, I've brought my brothers and family who have gone through thick and thin with me. They will be living and cultivating here in the future. I hope that Captain Shen Han can give them some pointers. Their talents are not bad, but they have only cultivated for a short time. What they lack is guidance and experience." Your subordinate understands. Shen Han nodded. His eyes were fixed on the members of the god-slaying squad. He could see that the members of the god-slaying squad were very young and had great potential. Chief Steward this is Jun Xuanji. He once managed a world and is a capable person. In the future, he will cooperate with you to manage some things in the 9 grand floors. After all, he is familiar with the people I brought. Night Sorrow looked at He Qiu and said, "Your Highness, don't worry. Your subordinate understands." He Qiu bowed. "Xuanji, you must be respectful to Chief Steward He." Night Sorrow looked at Jun Xuanji and instructed. Jun Xuanji nodded and bowed to He Qiu again. Now let's talk about resources and cultivation. The pagoda behind me has the effect of accelerating time, up to 10 times. However, the consumption is as high as eating spirit stones. I can think of a solution to the shortage of spirit stones, but the most important thing is that we cannot delay everyone's cultivation. Captain Fei Xiu, Captain Shen Han, each of you will be given 10 spots in the space-time treasure pagoda. Those who have performed well and have high potential, such as the Qing Emperor's Guard and the City Guard, can enter to cultivate. Night Sorrow pointed at the pagoda behind him. Accelerating time by 20 times consumed too much energy. Only when he was in a hurry would Night Sorrow let Xiao Kong accelerate time on the top floor. Your Highness, can we enter to cultivate? Shen Han's eyes lit up. You Fei Xiu, and Chief Steward he can all enter to cultivate. However, remember one thing. You must arrange the matters at hand properly. I don't want to see any mistakes. However, it's better not to enter for the time being. There are too many things to arrange and deal with. Night Sorrow looked at Fei Xiu and the other two and instructed them. Fei Xiu and the other two bowed. They knew that this was an opportunity. It was very difficult to cultivate in a state of accelerated time. Genuine. Chief Steward he profound secrets you two make the arrangements. The 9 grand floors will be accepting king pills and king artifacts. You can customize them according to your requirements. As for the price, you can decide for yourselves. Also, there is one more important matter. Uncle Xia's instructions in the 9 grand floors are equivalent to my orders, Night Sorrow said to everyone. After giving his instructions, Night Sorrow said that there would be a banquet in the garden next to the martial arts practice field for everyone to get to know each other. Night Sorrow returned to his study, followed by Summer City. In the past, he was Qing Emperor's shadow. Now he was Night Sorrow's personal bodyguard. Uncle Xia, is there anything I need to add to my arrangements? Night Sorrow asked as he brewed a pot of tea. Your Highness's arrangements are very good, but Your Highness is personally refining pills and refining tools. Isn't this too tiring? It will also delay Your Highness's own cultivation, Summer City asked. Our 9 grand floors has just risen. Resources are the biggest problem. I will accept refining pills and refining tools. I can more or less earn some money. In addition, I can improve my proficiency and experience in refining pills and refining tools. When I have free time, I can cultivate my combat skills, Night Sorrow said. Summer City nodded. He knew that Night Sorrow's arrangements were right and reasonable. What the 9 grand floors needed now was to accumulate resources. While Night Sorrow and Summer City were talking, Fei Xiu and Shen Han arrived. Each of them brought someone with them. Your Highness, this guy is suitable to cultivate my cultivation method. I want to give him some pointers. If he is suitable, I want to accept him as my disciple. Shen Han pointed to Ren Tianji behind him. Okay. As long as he is willing, there is no problem, Knight Sorrow said with a smile. Commander, Senior Shun is willing to give me pointers. Ren Tianji is more than happy to. Ren Tianji bowed to Knight Sorrow. In the reincarnation world, don't call me Commander. Only the Legion Commander is qualified to be called Commander. Knight Sorrow shook his head. Pass down the message. In the future, except for your Highness's elders, everyone will call you Your Highness, Summer City said. After hearing Summer City's words, several people in the hall bowed. Captain Feixiu, Captain Shen brought one person. How many did you bring? Knight Sorrow asked with a smile. At this time, Liang Yu, Yun Huang and Ling Long were behind Feixiu. I have a few more but I can't. Otherwise, I would have brought all of them. Feixiu bowed and said. Ling Long, who did Captain Feixiu choose? Knight Sorrow looked at Ling Long and asked with a smile. Captain. Your Highness Senior Feixiu chose Ningyun, Chiyue and Nian Xiao. Ling Long cupped her hands and said. Knight Sorrow turned his head and smiled helplessly. Feixiu's eyesight was pretty good. He was trying to poach all of his people. Your Highness, what's the situation? Summer City asked. Uncle Summer, Ning Yun and Chiyue are my disciples. Yin Yan Xiao is my younger sister, Knight Sorrow said with a smile. When Knight Sorrow said this, Feixiu felt a little embarrassed. Summer City reached out and pointed at Feixiu, not knowing what to say. Captain Feixiu, how about this? It's fine if my two disciples are stubborn, but my little sister has cultivated well with you. You can take the 4 of them. Yi Shang made his decision after thinking for a while. Okay. Your Highness, don't feel sorry for your younger sister, and find trouble with me. Feixiu bowed. Don't worry. A strict teacher produces outstanding disciples. I know this. Also make some arrangements. There are so many brothers in the Qing Emperor's Guard. Each of them will lead 1 or 2. These brothers have always fought with me in the 9 regions world. Their aptitudes are pretty good. Also, I hope they can achieve great things, Knight Sorrow said to Feixiu. Your Highness, I understand. Feixiu nodded. At this time, a guard came to inform Feixiu and Shenhan that many people were going to become Knight Sorrow's personal guards. Feixiu and Shenhan went down. Knight Sorrow's recruitment of personal guards had caused quite a stir in the Qing Emperor's city. His Highness's personal guards were treated extremely well. Their salaries were all given to the Qing Emperor's palace. Within the Qinglin Palace, Crown Prince Qinglin was wearing a Qilin robe. He narrowed his eyes and pondered. He already knew some things about the 9 layers building. Seeing Knight Sorrow grow, he couldn't control it. Then Qinglin made a decision. He arranged for people to attack Knight Sorrow's 9 layers building. When Qinglin called for people and made the arrangements, an old man in a green robe appeared. The old man was wearing a long robe with cloud patterns. He had a crown on his head. His long narrow eyes flashed. He was Qing Emperor's master Shangguan Hong. Your Highness, you can't do this, the old man said. Master, if we don't make the arrangements now, we will be passive in the future. Qinglin stood up and bowed to the old man. The one following him is Summer City. Do you know who Summer City is? Your Highness should know that no matter how many people you send, they won't escape his eyes. The result is that they will be killed. Then, there will be an irreparable crack in your relationship, Shangguan Hong said. Do we have any way to stop him from rising? Qinglin asked. I told your Highness not to make a move easily. If you make a move, don't give others a chance. You have to kill them directly. Making a move now is too blind. It won't be effective at all, Shangguan Hong said sternly. Chapter 1135. What do you think we should do? In the past, Qing Yuan was the only competitor. Qing Yuan was a woman and had a low chance of being promoted. However, this person was different. He had great potential and was a virtuous person. Therefore, it was hard to say what his father would do. Qinglin felt a great sense of crisis. Wait. For now, we should wait for him to make a mistake. Also, communicate with Princess Qingyuan. This outsider is your common enemy, Shangguan Hong said. Qinglin's achievements were related to his future position. Therefore he who had been cultivating all this time decided to help Qing Lin find a direction. Master, if I'm not wrong, Qing Yuan will probably try to win him over to attack us. Qing Lin rubbed his forehead and said. The Qing Emperor made Knight Sorrow a prince. This was really a problem for Qing Lin. He was no longer the only male prince. He felt a great sense of crisis. Don't worry. A battle of wits and courage. Be steady. The more critical the moment, the more steady you must be. Shang Guanhong nodded to Qing Lin and left the Qing Lin Hall. Before Shang Guanhong assisted Qing Lin, he held a high position in the Qing Emperor's dynasty. His style of doing things was ruthless and sharp. Therefore, the Qing Emperor sent him to follow Qing Lin. Qing Lin took 2 deep breaths and called for some people to prepare some gifts. Then he went to Qing Yuan Palace. Brother Crown Prince, how come you have time to visit me? Qing Yuan greeted Qing Lin with a smile. Since I have nothing to do, I decided to come here for a walk. It just so happens that my subordinates obtained some dragon incense and dragon pearls in the North Sea, so I'm here to give you some. Qing Lin waved his hand at the attendant behind him, and the attendant presented the gifts. Brother Crown Prince, you're too polite. Sif. Come, make the best tea. Qing Yuan called to Bai Ling. Is our junior brother not here? Call him over for tea. Qing Lin said. He knew that Knight Sorrow was in Jiucheng Tower, and not in the Qing Emperor's palace. He's not here. Should we send someone to Jiucheng Tower to call him? Qing Yuan asked with a smile. She knew that Qing Lin was here to see her. Since he's not here, then forget it. How's junior brother Knight in the Qing Lin army? Qing Lin asked. It's not easy to handle. Nominally, he was the deputy commander in the army, but didn't the commander and commander still have to give him face? It's hard to manage. Princess Qing Yuan sighed. She didn't speak the truth at all. She mainly wanted to see what Prince Qing Lin had to say. It has indeed been hard on you, sister. However, we have the responsibility to guide his growth. If we don't let him stay in the Green Phoenix army, he doesn't know anything. If he impulsively creates an army, it will be very easy for him to create a mess. Qing Lin held the teacup that Bai Ling had made and said. Most P knew Chapter V, but he is a capable person, and his ability to lead troops is very strong. Our Green Phoenix army was able to beat up the Dark Abyss with him, and now we have nothing to do. Why don't Brother Crown Prince give us another defensive area? This way, the Green Qilin army will be able to relax. Otherwise, if there is no war, it is hard to say if he will leave the Green Phoenix army. Princess Green Phoenix said. The Azure Qilin Crown Prince was stunned for a moment before bursting into laughter. However, he was filled with anger. A large defensive zone meant more battles, and more battles meant more merits. In the Qing Emperor's empire, merits were hard currency to nurture subordinates, resources, etc. Green Phoenix's request was actually for Qing Lin to shed some blood. No problem. Later on, I will let you guys have some at the border with the Green Phoenix army. Qing Lin's face was full of smiles. As for what he was thinking, only he knew. Brother Crown Prince, don't worry. Junior brother Knight will be fine in my Green Phoenix army. Princess Green Phoenix said with a smile. This was also a disguised promise. After chatting for a while, Qing Lin left. During the chat, Qing Lin emphasized the stability of the Qing Emperor's empire. After Qing Lin left, Zhuo Tingyun came to Princess Green Phoenix's side. His Highness Crown Prince is unable to stabilize. This is a good situation. We should also stabilize. We should even support the weaker Knight Sorrow. Of course, Knight Sorrow is not fighting now probably because of his state of mind. Other than that, his own strength and the strength of his subordinates are not enough. I naturally have to support him. If the two of them fight, their reputations will definitely be ruined. At that time, Princess Green Phoenix laughed. Princess Green Phoenix didn't go to the Ninechong Pagoda herself. She sent Zhuo Tingyun. After Zhuo Tingyun arrived at the Ninechong Pagoda, he requested to see Knight Sorrow. Knight Sorrow received him in the main hall. Zhuo Tingyun greets your highness. Seeing Knight Sorrow, Zhuo Tingyun cupped his hands and bowed. Elder Zhuo is too polite. Please take a seat. Xueshi, serve the tea. Knight Sorrow nodded at Xueshi. Thank you, your highness. It's like this. Princess Green Phoenix ordered me to send some things over. Zhuo Tingyun first took out a token, and then a storage ring. Knight Sorrow looked at Zhuo Tingyun. He needed a reason and an explanation. The token is a token of 30 years of cultivation in the Samsara Palace. There are some resources in this storage ring. Your Highness has just taken control of the Ninechong Pagoda and needs a lot of resources. Zhuo Tingyun said. Thank Princess Green Phoenix for me. It's impolite not to reciprocate. Here is the soul fluid of life. I hope it can be of some help to Princess Green Phoenix. Knight Sorrow took out 10 drops of soul fluid of life and gave it to Zhuo Tingyun. After looking at Knight Sorrow, Zhuo Tingyun looked around and waved his hand to isolate the eavesdropping. Prince Green Phoenix went to the Green Phoenix Palace today. Your Highness knows some things. Your own strength is very important. Princess Green Phoenix means that Your Highness will be safe in the Green Phoenix army. Knight Sorrow didn't say anything. The situation was very complicated now. Prince Green Phoenix and Princess Green Phoenix couldn't bear to see an outsider like him living a good life. He didn't know what they were thinking, so he could only stay silent. Seeing that Knight Sorrow didn't say anything, Zhuo Tingyun left. He had achieved his purpose of coming here, which was to let Knight Sorrow have some ideas in his heart. After Zhuo Tingyun left, Summer City appeared. This old thing is up to no good. Your Highness needs to analyze his words. Don't worry, Uncle Xia. I can see the situation very clearly, and my heart is also very calm. Regardless of whether it is Prince Qinglin or Princess Qingwan, they don't want to see me do well. My appearance has broken the balance. What they do against me is to form an alliance or suppress me, said Yishan. That's right. The situation is as Your Highness said. They also have their misgivings. Let's not talk about whether there will be any effect if they become hostile with Your Highness. At the very least, it will leave a bad impression on His Majesty. Summer City nodded. Knight Sorrow's opinion was the current situation. While Knight Sorrow and Summer City were talking, Hichio and Jun Xuanji came. The two of them sent out the notice that Ninechong Floor was accepting custom weapons and elixirs. They had to bring their own materials. 3 sets of materials and 1 set of finished products. The main gimmick was that Knight Sorrow had personally made it. I guess he will be busy. It's good to be busy. Juyun, how are you doing now? Knight Sorrow looked at Juyun, who was walking into the hall. I seem to have a good aptitude. I have already comprehended 30% of the will of fire. If I succeed, I will come to the world of samsara and look for the area where the will of death manifests. Juyun stood beside Knight Sorrow and said with a smile. Chapter 1136. Alright, I'll arrange it for you when the time comes. Seeing Juyun's rise, Knight Sorrow was very happy. Yishang admired Juyun's style, aura, and character. When the time comes, I'll take care of it, Summer City said. Uncle Xia, Chief Steward He Xuanji and Juyun used to be the leaders of 2 subsidiary worlds of the 9 regions world. They have the ability to manage and fight. What they lack is experience and experience. You can give them some pointers. Don't worry, Chief Steward He. I don't care who I'm close to, Knight Sorrow said. Your Highness, there's no need to worry. I'm not young and know a little about Your Highness. I came to the 9 grand floors to help Your Highness, Hichio said. At this time Wu Lingfei and Yu Qing also came to the hall. They told Knight Sorrow that Yi Qianhua, Yi Tian, and Yi Linghuan were planning to go out for a walk. I understand. They don't want to make things difficult for me. Let them be. Safety is a problem. Knight Sorrow rubbed his forehead. Knight Sorrow could understand what the 3 were thinking. They were Knight Sorrow's seniors. The people of the 9 grand floors had to respect them. However, this respect was unfair to them. That's easy. I'll follow Your Highness. Let Facio make a few soul crystals for them. Chief Steward, he can give them the 9 grand floors army token. No one will dare to touch them, Summer City said. All right. Aunt Fei, give them some resources. Also, tell them to come back when they want to speed up their cultivation. That's all I can do, Knight Sorrow said. Yu Qing and Wu Lingfei then left the hall. Your Highness, that woman's cultivation is very high. She's a high-level life attribute Saint King. Her future will be very good, Summer City said. She was referring to Wu Lingfei. That's my most respected Aunt Fay. Sit down. I'll talk about some things from the past. Everyone should rest and relax. Night Sorrow waved his hand and had them sit down. Then, Night Sorrow talked about the things that happened in the East Snow Mountain after he became a disciple of the Medicine Valley. He also talked about how Wu Lingfei helped him. Other than your highness, no one would dare to fight against a venerable at the 3rd level, Hichio said with a smile. At that time I couldn't find my parents, and Medicine Valley was still in danger. I was only thinking about how to increase my strength. As long as I could increase my strength, I was willing to do anything. Later, Auntie Fei became my closest relative. Along the way, Auntie Fei cared for me a lot, and I have always remembered it in my heart, Night Sorrow said. Your Highness, don't worry. I've seen that the people around your Highness are all talented. It's only a matter of time before they enter the king's realm. The true experts also rely on the accumulation of time after entering the king's realm, Summer City said. I've also prepared some backup plans. When I wasn't in the reincarnation world, I went to the boundless territory once. I was lucky enough to obtain some limitless longevity fruits and refine them into limitless longevity pills. It's possible for them to enter the Saint King realm. Saint Kings have a lifespan of 10,000 years. If they can't become a king in 10,000 years, I'll help them for another 10,000 years. I don't believe it won't work. Your Highness, you're too ruthless. Even His Majesty doesn't have such means. I know that only Saint Kings can enter the boundless territory. There are also King Realm cultivators in there. Summer City was stunned. I used some methods and opportunities. I'm quite lucky. The limitless longevity pill has been refined. If Uncle Summer or Steward he has anyone who hasn't entered the king's realm, you can come find me, Night Sorrow said. At this time, Hichio knelt on the ground. Night Sorrow was shocked. He couldn't see through Hichio's cultivation. He was at least a 6-star king. How could a 6-star king kneel so easily? He hurriedly got up and helped Hichio up. Steward, don't be like this. If there's anything I can do, I'll do it. I've said before that we're all family in the 9 grand floors. I have a daughter who's now a half-step king. Because of her pride, she refused to enter the saint realm with a normal attribute. Although she comprehended a high-level attribute, it took a lot of time. It's also difficult to enter the high-level attribute. When she reached the will of death, she was stuck. Her lifespan has reached its end. She's now in seclusion. I only have one family member. Tears appeared in Steward He's eyes. It's nothing. This is a limitless longevity pill. Just give it to her. Also pass down the order. As long as it's a member of the 9 grand floors, they're to report it to the captain if they can't solve it. If the captain can't solve it, look for Uncle Summer or you. If not, look for me. Night Sorrow took out a limitless longevity pill and gave it to Hichio. This is the luck and opportunity brought by someone who's close to being blessed by luck and virtue. It's the will of heaven. Steward gather everyone in the martial arts arena. Summer City said. He was a little emotional. Night Sorrow's character was bold and generous. He didn't have to worry about not being able to achieve great things. After everyone was gathered, Night Sorrow and Summer City went to the martial arts arena. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. Hichio stood at the front and told them about what had just happened. She also told them about Night Sorrow's philosophy. Your Highness, our 9 grand floors Qing Emperor's guards and city guards haven't done anything for your Highness yet, Feishio said. To be able to gather in the 9 grand floors is fate. To be able to live under the same roof in the vast 1,000 worlds, isn't that fate? I'm not doing this to curry favor with anyone, and I don't need it. Back then, when I led the God-slaying squad, I said that I don't ask for anything else. I only ask that after many years, we'll stand at the top and look back to see that all our brothers and sisters are still around. Fortunately, after following me into battle, no one in the God-slaying squad fell. This can be considered as me fulfilling my promise. Today, we're all gathered in the 9 grand floors. Let's start a new chapter, Night Sorrow said. In response to Night Sorrow, the members of the God-slaying squad pounded their left fists on their breastplates. They were glad to have a captain like Night Sorrow. The Qing Emperor's guards and city guards responded in the same way. They were pledging their loyalty. If anyone tries to harm your highness, we'll fight to the last person. This is for your highness's promise. What's the point of living without brothers? Feishio stepped forward and said. In response to Feishio, everyone said the same thing. Fight to the last person. Knight Sorrow felt a little emotional. He waved his hand and dismissed the team. He and Summer City returned to the main hall. Your Highness, I'm going to see His Majesty now. I'll hand over the matters at hand. There's no need to worry about anything else in the future, Summer City said. Go. Send my regards to Master. Knight Sorrow nodded. Summer City left the 9 grand floors and went to the Azure Sky Pavilion. He stood outside the Azure Sky Pavilion, waiting for the Qing Emperor to summon him when it was convenient. Didn't you come and go as you pleased? Why aren't you coming in now? The Qing Emperor's voice rang out. Summer City cupped his hands and entered the Azure Sky Pavilion. The Qing Emperor and Xian Daozi were drinking tea. Summer City, I'm not used to seeing you like this, let alone His Majesty, Xian Daozi said. There's a difference between now and then. Summer City shook his head. Tell me, how's my disciple doing? The Qing Emperor asked. If he's willing, then no one can compete with him. No one can take advantage of him. Summer City cupped his hands and said to the Qing Emperor. Chapter 1137. Isn't this evaluation too high? The Qing Emperor's hand that was holding the teacup paused for a moment. It's not high. Right now, everyone in the 9-story tower is united. If anyone wants to attack the 9-story tower and take it down, they can only kill everyone in the 9-story tower, Summer City said. His Majesty's Qing Emperor's guards and your city guards were taken down so quickly? Were they subdued and bought over? Xian Daozi was also a little stunned. No, it's because of His Highness ideals. His Highness ideals are to return many years later, and have his brothers and sisters still around. In the past he did it. None of the troops that fought with him in the 9 regions world died. Not only in the 9-story tower, but in the Thunder Army's Massacre God domain, His Highness' prestige is also extremely high. He will fight in every battle. He said that as long as we charge, everyone will be able to see his back. When we retreat, we will be able to see him when we turn back. He can give everyone a sense of security, Summer City said. Charisma. Strength can be improved, and authority can be fought for. However, this charisma is innate, and no one can learn it. He is very similar to me in the past, but I didn't do it as well as he did. Niu air is the pain in my heart, the Azure Emperor said. The Niu air that the Qing Emperor was talking about was the same as Xian Daozi, Shangguan Hong, Zhuo Tingyun and Summer City. They were all old subordinates of the Qing Emperor, but they were killed by the people of the Red Emperor's kingdom. So for many years, the Qing Emperor's kingdom and the Red Emperor's kingdom were at odds. This was also the regret in the Qing Emperor's heart. His ability is indeed very strong, but why didn't he form an army? Xian Daozi asked. He said that he did not want your Majesty to be disappointed and sad. He did not want your Majesty to see him in conflict with your Majesty's children, Summer City said. The Qing Emperor nodded. He knew that this disciple was not wrong. His temperament was what he liked the most. On the other hand, the princes, including the Crown Prince and the Princess, were too utilitarian. If you don't form an army, that person will gain less merit points, and their growth will be slower, Xian Daozi said. Summer City, please warn the Crown Prince and the Princess, your Majesty. His Highness Knight Sorrow doesn't fight for anything, but if someone threatens the people around him, he will fight back. He has principles, but he's not a good-tempered person. It's not good for the stability of the Qing Emperor's dynasty, said Summer City. Let's fight then. Without competition, there would be no motivation. The few of them would not be able to shake the stability of dynasty. As for the losers, I will keep their lives and withdraw from the core of power. It's that simple. There's no need to worry about Summer City. I've lived for a long time, and I've come to terms with it. As long as my children can live, I can take a look whenever I want to. Nothing else matters. I supported Sandalwood and Knight Sorrow, so that the Qing Emperor could have a successor in dynasty. I did it so that they could survive. The Qing emperor voiced his thoughts. Summer City nodded, and then proposed that the city guard should step down and hand over their duties. However, the Qing emperor refused. He trusted Xiandaozi and Summer City the most, so he had always kept them by his side. He meant that Summer City could visit the city guard if he had nothing to do. There were many commanders anyway. After nodding, Summer City accepted the order. This was the Qing emperor's trust. When he had sent Shangguan Hong and Zhuo Tingyin out, leaving only Summer City and Xiandaozi, it showed how much he valued the two of them. Summer City bowed and left. He had come to report, and now he was done. After Summer City left, the Qing emperor sank into deep thought. This time it wasn't just Night Sorrow, Qinglin and Qingwan fighting, but also Summer City, Shangguan Hong and Zhuo Tingyin fighting. The Qing emperor had his reasons for letting Summer City assist Night Sorrow instead of Xiandaozi. Shangguan Hong and Zhuo Tingyin were both feminine, and most of the time, they would use soft tactics. Summer City's personality was straightforward, and he would take care of you if you provoked him. This was his style. The Qing emperor hoped that Night Sorrow's side would be more firm. Only then would they be able to gain a foothold. Summer City was just right to assist. Your Majesty, Zhuo Tingyin is fine, but Shangguan Hong and Summer City don't get along very well. Currently they are competing, Xiandaozi said. Brothers, Summer City's personality is the closest to this emperor's. He doesn't like to beat around the bush, and he won't delay his revenge until night falls. In terms of combat strength, Night Sorrow isn't as good as him, but in terms of strategy, he's an expert. Looking at his past, he has high strategies and a bottom line. Let's wait and see, the Qing emperor said after drinking a pot of tea. Seeing that Summer City had returned, Night Sorrow, who was studying the Qing emperor's handwritten letter, looked up. Uncle Summer, I want to see that senior brother. Will Master allow me to do so? Sandalwood? Z has already gone mad. He's imprisoned in the Devil Ceiling Tower's underground palace. You can see him. But why would your Majesty think of this? Summer City asked. No matter how bad his situation is, he's still my senior brother. Let's go take a look. Perhaps there's something I can help him with, Night Sorrow said. Then Summer City told Night Sorrow that Sandalwood could only be quiet for a while every day at 7 o'clock. In the evening, Summer City reminded Night Sorrow that it was time. Then, under Summer City's lead, the two of them arrived at the Devil Ceiling Tower in the western part of the Qing Emperor's city. It was a place where serious criminals were imprisoned, and it was guarded by the Qing Emperor's guards. When they saw Summer City, the Qing Emperor's guards let them in. They went deep underground, and there were layers upon layers of prisoners. Sandalwood is on the 9th floor, where the suppression is the strongest. It's a pity that a genius of a generation has fallen. Summer City sighed. Update F new. Fastest, up. There was only one cell on the 9th floor, and there was a man in black sitting cross-legged in the cell. His face couldn't be seen. There were black metal shackles on his arms and neck. Your Majesty, Summer City greeted in a low voice. Uncle Summer is here. The man in black raised his head. Under his disheveled hair was a resolute face. How are you? Summer City asked. I'm fine. There's only 1 hour of peace in a day. The man in black spoke with a hint of vicissitudes. Night Sorrow greets senior brother. Night Sorrow cupped his hands towards the man in black, who was Sandalwood. Senior brother. Sandalwood's eyes were filled with confusion. His Majesty has accepted another disciple. Other than Princess Sandalwood, this is his only direct disciple, Night Sorrow. He wants to see you, Summer City said. Very good. Junior brother Night, I've disappointed Master. You must walk on the right path. Sandalwood stood up and said. Open the door. Night Sorrow said to the Qing Emperor's guards. Knowing Night Sorrow's identity, the Qing Emperor's guards opened the door. Night Sorrow and Summer City walked in. Senior brother, there's always a way out. You're just temporarily lost, Night Sorrow said to Sandalwood. Sandalwood looked at Night Sorrow and suddenly laughed. Everyone thinks I'm dying, but I haven't given up. Junior brother, you're the only one who understands me. Night Sorrow took out a set of robes that he had never worn before, and put it on Sandalwood. He knew that Sandalwood had once been glorious, but now he was a pitiful man. Thank you, junior brother. Let's go. It's time for the attack. It only lasts for an hour every day. Sandalwood shook his head at Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow waved his arm and took out a tea table. He then started brewing tea. Chapter 1138. The tea that Yi Shang brewed was enlightenment tea. Enlightenment tea was a tea that could clear one's mind. Let's go. I can't hold on for long. Sandalwood's breathing was unstable. Have some tea. After brewing the tea, Night Sorrow handed it to Sandalwood with both hands. Sandalwood's hand trembled as he drank the tea. His breathing stabilized. I don't know what's going on with senior brother, but I think a peaceful state of mind is very important. In reality, senior brother has nothing left. Let go of everything and don't think about cultivation. Just be a normal person for now. Night Sorrow said to Sandalwood, who had calmed down. Looking at Night Sorrow, Sandalwood nodded. There's hope as long as you persist. I'll visit senior brother when I have time. When senior brother gets better, I'll bring you some wine. Night Sorrow left the prison with Summer City. After leaving the Devil Ceiling Tower, Summer City told Night Sorrow that Sandalwood's strength in the Qing Emperor's dynasty could only be suppressed by the Qing Emperor. No one else could, so they could only imprison him. The Qing Emperor had no choice. Senior brother Sandalwood is a stubborn person. Now that he's fallen into a demonic trap, there won't be a problem if he can overcome it, Night Sorrow said. Back at the Nine Chong building, Night Sorrow saw many people cultivating on the training ground. The Qing Emperor's guards were responsible for the cultivation of the members of the god-slaying team. Sikong Chuyu, Yang Lei, Aoi, and Shueshi were cultivating under Hichio's guidance. After taking a look, Yishang was very satisfied and returned to the main hall. At this time, Sandalwood's face was red in the Devil Ceiling Tower's prison, but he sat there quietly and persevered. His mind was filled with Night Sorrow's words. The Qing Emperor's guards outside were very surprised. Sandalwood would have gone crazy at this time every day, but today an hour had passed. Sandalwood was still persevering. He was a determined person, but with the passage of time, his determination had been worn down. Night Sorrow's words gave him motivation again. After persevering for 2 hours, Sandalwood stood up. His new robe landed on the tea table that Night Sorrow didn't take away. Then he waved his arm and rolled the tea table to the side of the prison. Only then did he begin punching the iron walls of the prison. The Qing's guards outside looked at Sandalwood was confused. Sandalwood was punching everywhere in the prison, except for the tea table. And even if he did attack, he would change directions with bloodshot eyes. And, after forging a custom-made sovereign weapon, Night Sorrow looked at the time and left the 9-layer building, once again going to the Devil Ceiling Tower's dungeon. Junior brother is here. Sandalwood, who was sitting cross-legged, looked up. Coming. Night Sorrow took the tea table from the foot of the wall and brewed a pot of Tao Comprehension tea. While Sandalwood was drinking tea, Night Sorrow took out a small knife to clean Sandalwood's hair and tied it up. As long as you're alive, you can't lose your spirit. Okay, I'll remember. Sandalwood looked up and smiled at Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow didn't think much of it. In fact, Sandalwood hadn't smiled in a million years. Remember to clean this place every day. Night Sorrow took out some Holy Spirit stones and placed them at the foot of the prison. Junior brother, what are you doing? Sandalwood was confused. When I'm not awake, they can't come in. When I'm awake, whoever cleans this place will get a piece too. Night Sorrow explained his intention. Okay, junior brother, you're so thoughtful. Sandalwood nodded. Only right. Everything else is Jay-Z or B. Piracy. It wasn't long before she went crazy. Sandalwood stood up. Junior brother, I don't want you to see me in such a sorry state. Night Sorrow nodded and left her a pot of Tao Comprehension tea. Senior brother, I'll come to see you when I have time, but alchemy and artifact forging are a waste of time. Sometimes I have to go to war with the army. When I'm not here, you can ask them to brew you tea when you're awake. After that, Night Sorrow left the Devil Ceiling Tower. Night Sorrow didn't have much time to take on artifact forging and alchemy orders. He also asked Wu Lingfei to go back to the Nine Domains world and see if there was any more Dao comprehension tea at Tiger's Roar in the realm of unbounded desolation. He could make some pills. He also asked Chen Chen if he could get heart-cleansing tea in large quantities. Night Sorrow felt that Sandalwood's current condition was ineffective with pills. What she needed to do was calm her mind and focus. Only when she was in a good state could they talk about other things. After telling Wu Lingfei about this, Night Sorrow also told He Chiu that he would buy these two types of tea at a reasonable price. When he wasn't busy, Night Sorrow would come to the Devil Ceiling Tower. Every time Night Sorrow came, Sandalwood would wait for him with great vigor. When Night Sorrow came again, Sandalwood nodded. Junior brother's words are priceless. The tea is also good. Yishang smiled and brewed the tea. He was careless and scalded his hand. Yishang hurriedly patted it a few times. You're king. Why are you afraid of boiling water? Sandalwood asked. I'm king when I'm fighting. When drinking tea, it's better to be an ordinary person. Otherwise, I'll lose a lot of inspiration and enjoyment. Night Sorrow shook his head and continued making tea. Sandalwood trembled. Night Sorrow's philosophy was completely different from what she had seen before. When can we drink wine? Sandalwood asked after a moment of thought. Soon. When senior brother's mood stabilizes, we'll drink and chat. To be honest, junior brother likes wine. I like good wine. When senior brother is able to drink, tell me which restaurant in the Azure Emperor dynasty and I'll bring you their wine, Yishang said with a smile. You said it yourself. Senior brother will remember it. Also, you're still young. You've just arrived in the Qing Emperor dynasty. You need to hold your ground. Those guys aren't easy to deal with. Sandalwood sighed. After drinking a pot of tea with Sandalwood and chatting for a while, Yishang left when he sensed that Sandalwood's emotions were unstable. If I can change it, then senior brother will fight alongside you. When they were chatting, Night Sorrow told Sandalwood about his current situation. Sandalwood could feel that Night Sorrow wasn't having it easy. After Night Sorrow and Sandalwood had been together for more than 2 months, the commander of the Qing Emperor's guards reported to the Qing Emperor. You go every day, sometimes only a few days apart? The Lotus Emperor stood up from his seat. Yes. Most importantly, Her Highness Sandalwood's condition has improved. Previously, she could only stay awake for an hour. Now she can stay awake for 4 hours. The commander of the Qing Emperor's guard said. Did Night Sorrow give Sandalwood some pills? The Qing Emperor asked. No, they just drank tea and chatted. Sometimes they even laughed. However, His Highness Night Sorrow would leave when Sandalwood was about to act up. I know that was out of respect. His Highness Night Sorrow knew that Her Highness Sandalwood didn't want him to see her in such a sorry state. The commander of the Qing Emperor's guard said. How rare, how rare. Continue to observe. If the two highnesses have any requests, fulfill them. Report back if Sandalwood can stay awake for 6 hours. Xian Daozi, keep an eye on Night Sorrow's recent situation. The Qing Emperor ordered Xian Daozi. 4th watch. You're tuning in to the Echoes of the Heart YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.